That's Rivals Fight Night Europe. We're about to get into the North American version of this. Virtus Pro versus Patapin was a great match. We're hoping for a great match as well heading into this. We got Shroud X, we've got Citadel, and the winner will take on 100 Thieves. It might be as good as Europe, we hope. You know, as a North American, I always hope that I can be as good as Europe. Maybe never works. I'm here with, I don't know, I'll say the best casters in the world. We'll see if that's true or not.
No, Blaze.
I'm here with Avast and ZP. I'm Hex. Nice to see you guys. Avast, ZP, what did you think of Europe early on, ZP?
I mean, look, what I thought about Europe is that we saw BP nearly take down VP, which I did not have my bingo card to start the day. Where, yeah. I mean, there was already, even just browsing across the internet, right? There's people just like, has BP ever been played in a pro match? And you kind of respond and be like, well, probably not. Maybe if you look to like season 0 in China. And all of a sudden, Tanuki comes out on one of the best Black Panthers we have ever seen, and it nearly leads to the VP streak being broken. I mean, what more can you say but cinema to that? Really great start to the day.
Validated a lot of people's social opinions, which I dislike wholly. Avast, what did you think of that, and what do you think of North America going forward?
Sorry, just gotta zoom in here a second. They're cropping my Davi corner a bit. They're cropping my Davi corner that I put in a little bit. I mean, overall, I think Europe continues to be kind of a different beast comparatively. It's not too divergent, I think, in terms of the meta right now. Black Panther is... Oh, we're getting closer.
Oh, double zoom.
Ooh, I'm getting closer. But overall, like, I do think that this is pretty much the meta seems to have equalized. Why am I'm getting even closer? I'm getting even closer.
The joke's gonna be you when it never stops. It just continues.
We can just keep zooming. It's gonna be just solely on my mouth by the time it's done. But I think Black Panther kind of just maybe could be just the end of the meta, right? Because season 2.5 is coming out pretty soon. What's being played right now is not necessarily insanely relevant per se, what we're going to see, especially like in the Ignition series currently. Right. So something like that.
It felt very aggressive and very North American to me. So do you think we're going to see something that mirrors that, ZP, where like North America kind of does dive-ish? Korea obviously does dive the best. So I'm just curious if we think we're going to see mirrored compositions when it comes to Shroud X versus Citadel Gaming today.
I would guess no, from what I know of both of these teams. I don't think either team is going to be super eager to go full dive. The one team in North America that tends to go full dive is not playing, which would be FlyQuest. I think FlyQuest of all teams may have looked at today's game versus VP and will go, actually, we could run that because they've run things like Spider-Man in the past, and they're more willing to just go full hyper engage. But these two teams, I would guess not, from what I know, but hey, I mean, it is the final day of the last patch. Like, this is it. Tomorrow we enter season 2.5 and all the new stuff that will bring. So if teams are going to try anything in their back pocket that they hadn't used yet on this patch, well, today would be the day.
Yeah, the rare Spider-Man gaming today, completely off the radar that we expected to see. Here's the Shroud X roster: Doomed, Vision, Dungman, Impunity, Nuck, Fidel, and Kendrick. Is there a player here that you would expect to maybe play something different or have something off meta Avast?
I mean, well, realistically right now, no. I mean, hopefully Dongman gets to play some Penny Parker in the next patch, but I think right now we maybe get lucky if we can get some Black Panther get played again, like it was in Europe. I mean, currently I think it's just going to be kind of more of the same. I doubt anything is going to change too much in North America, barring them trying out something pretty interesting that we have yet to see before. So I just think it's going to be more Hela, Namor, Winter Soldier, etc. I doubt we're going to see too much different.
Fair enough. The players that I would expect to see maybe switch off and do something different would probably be Doomed and Vision. ZP, what's in their pool that they could run?
Well, I think for Shroud X have kind of shown quite a bit of versatility, and in particular, I mean, for Doomed and Vision, you stop and think about times where we've seen like Vision on the Hela or Doom just kind of playing a wide smattering of duelist heroes, like to a high degree. Although I do think, funny enough, when I've looked at Shroud X at times when they've done well, I've been super impressed with what Dongman has been able to do, at times from the Vanguard role, where I feel like Shroud X at times will win more from their frontline play than even their duelist play at times. I think the problem that kind of tends to haunt Shroud X a little bit is that they're a little bit inconsistent on their execution from time to time, where they'll have rounds where they look absolutely great and like one of the best teams in North America, and then they'll have rounds where everything just completely falls apart, where they get staggered when they shouldn't get staggered. Their ult economy just kind of goes awry. So to me, it's a team that has like pretty high individual skill, but a lot of rough edges in terms of the team play that kind of defines the top end Marvel Rivals team. Something where if you look back at a team like VP and EU, well, you have a whole bunch of veterans in the hero shooter genre. So it kind of makes sense that they're a little bit more polished.
That always is the question, is it your composition or your execution that is failing you? And the best teams are the ones who capitalize on both, that they're very good at their composition and their execution. As we take a look at Citadel Gaming, we got Fraud, Mace, Monster, Lava, Valentina, and Velocity. Who sticks out to you here? Who do you want to see as the best player at Vest?
I mean, I think a lot of presence is going to be shown towards, in my opinion, it's going to be Fraud, and also Valentina Eve, who I think has been a really, really great strategist player for them overall. I think when I saw this team formerly, which was like essentially Boom Crew, I felt a little wishy-washy at times with the Vanguard line. I was like, okay, I can see some talent here, but it just didn't have it together. So maybe, you know, with this triple Vanguard line they have between Mace, Monster, and Lava, they've kind of figured out a more solid rotation for them.
Right.
And also, I don't remember Usher too much, honestly. So this could be a good chance also, like, is this Human Torch is still very relevant? You know, there hasn't been any big changes like there coming to 2.5, maybe a lot of Human Torch gameplay potentially.
Well, that struck me as a new name, and also Human Torch is just getting first bans everywhere all the time.
It's true.
So is this a team that can only run 3 Vanguard, ZP?
Probably not. I mean, we get some weird things in terms of production. But for those who are wondering, this is a Boom Crew team that also did quite a few roster change-ups from last time we saw them, where, the mainstays that have not left the team are Fraud, Monster, Lava, but in terms of people that have left, Vibrato is no longer with the team, Koodle Noodle is no longer with the team, Velocity is still with the team, of course, who was with them in their first iteration. So, they've done quite a few change-ups over time. So it's Boom Crew, but it's also a bunch of other new players have been picked up from across the scene. So, and also obviously an accomplished team, one of the teams that did qualify in the first stage for Marvel Rivals Ignite, which is of course happening within the next month. So overall, a team that is on the come up and a team that has proven themselves already, but now it's going to be an even stiffer chance against a team that was already pre-qualified into Ignite and Shroud X.
I'll always respect someone who names themselves Fraud. Just the confidence that goes through it. That name choice is always great. Also, the defending team today is 100 Thieves. It's not Envy. 100 Thieves is going to run it back. Envy had something going on, so they're not our defending champions, which is generally how we do it in Fight Night. Not going to be the case today, and we'll see.
I can speak to that. So just a little bit of backstory on how that all transpired. Around Tuesday night, I got a message from Envy saying, hey, it's kind of unlikely we're going to be able to play this week. Maybe put 100 Thieves back in as the defending team. And, I just kind of mentioned, like, oh, Conplague, because they're on a DreamHack, which is a really good time. And, we don't hear much for a while. And, obviously, stuff is always shifting, right? And eventually we do hear, like, the next day, Envy, whatever was troubling them had, like, actually passed and they were able to play. But at that point, we had already walked in the
die, by the way. Like, they didn't pass. They simply the sickness passed, right?
No,
okay.
I'm just explaining the sequence of events here. So all you have to know is that Envy, assuming they wish to play, will be back in next week as one of the challenging teams. So they're not going anywhere, but for this week, this is why 100 Thieves is in as our defending team.
All we try to bring you at Rivals Fight Night is the best teams playing each other every night. And also what we bring you every week is Human Torch bans. First band.
So true.
Always.
So incredibly true. And Citadel Gaming, it's been a while since we've seen them. And as the ZP said, we haven't seen his roster duration. So it looks like for them, they're, trying to remove a Groot matchup. They want to make sure they're protecting Groot, right? Because this is his new ban system where you can remove a hero and also still protect it for yourself. So just the enemy team can't play it. So it seems like they want to try to force themselves to the first map to have the Groot and just make sure Shroud X does not have that available. But, they're going to play in a pretty, I would say for Shroud X, very aggressive front line with this Emma Frost, Magneto, which is typically just a very, very aggressive type of composition style.
Yeah, the format has changed a little bit. We try to explain the best we can. It's just like they're doing something different for qualifiers and then something different when it really matters. So, yeah. That's just kind of how it's going on, but all you really need to know is that Human Torch is banned every single time.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as I look at this is going to be interesting. The fact that we're getting a very distinct tank matchup, the Groot versus no Groot. I mean, typically, Avast, when you look at this, you kind of expect to see some Magneto.
You do. I mean, I wouldn't be. I mean, there was Magneto, to be fair.
Yeah, Magneto and Wolverine. And Wolverine is kind of what I was going with there.
Yeah, and I think that's also why that for Shroud X they have locked in that Magneto pick, because they were worried a potential Wolverine, and that's what did get picked there for the side of Citadel Gaming. So you got to have the Magneto, because we've seen it in the past, especially in like the Shroud Gauntlet, where if you have to play into Wolverine with no Magneto, your Chungus life is over.
All right, guys. Well, Shroud X Citadel. We had some great European action. Let's see if we can repeat it in North America. Shroud X Citadel. Let's get to it. ZP, take it away.
All right, we're getting ready to get started here. And interestingly enough, I thought if we're going to see Wolverine, it'd come out from the Shroud X end, and yet it's going to be Citadel coming out with the Wolverine and the Groot. Oh, wait, what I'm saying, we're flipped. We're absolutely flipped.
Yes.
It is Shroud X coming out here. The teams are flipped.
You've been bamboozled. You've been bamboozled. And also, I mean, you saw that Mace actually was trying there for Citadel Gaming to do a little bit of portal tech to like block the portal for Shroud X, and unfortunately missed it, did not get that just in time. So instead they're just going to go directly to the point. As Doomed here on the flank, looking for this early engage on the Wolverine, trying to get one, gonna find it, but gonna get delayed, gonna get interrupted.
Yeah, and you look at Shroud X here, everything is going to depend on the Wolverine play, where you're not running the Groot, or rather, when you're trying to take down the other side, you are using Wolverine here to just deal with the front line, deal with what's on the other end, and okay, now we flip things here properly. All is right with the world.
Leap. Coming on in, gonna find one. I don't think they're able to clean it up just yet. Oh, they are. They're gonna find Mace. So that's an early, great first pick there. Off the leap, a lot of pressure here from Shroud X onto the point now with Monster going down. So this should just be a very nice flip, and there's gonna be some more chases, some more staggers going down. And for Shroud X, looking very confident here on this Wolverine comp.
Also, I know why I'm still was a little bit discombobulated. Even in the draft, the teams are flipped. So, okay. Now...
So it's production's fault. You know what? We'll have a talk with them. No rations for this week.
Absolutely. But, okay, where we're at now, Citadel, again, a little bit taken out on the first fight. Shroud X able to stabilize back over on the point. 23%, and I mean, okay, right now, making Groot Wolverine work together, and to kind of reframe here, it's a little interesting. Citadel decides to come out here with triple strategist and not run something like a Wolverine of their own here. I feel like it's a hard thing to make work at best.
I mean, they're really much relying on Fraud to get a lot of value here on the Star-Lord to push him out, especially because there's not a ton of anti-air here with the Wolverine. But I mean, Velocity down again already. Usher is going to be holding on to the Karmic Revival, so there's a chance for them to get some respawns back in.
Fraud, meanwhile, comes on in, off the Galactic Legend, able to take down Nuck. A little bit of life now for Citadel Gaming. Flash of Barrage up and over. Fate of Both Worlds going to be dropped here by Shroud X. And now, Kraken Impact in here from Vision, looking to keep Shroud X in control of the point. Dogman on the Mace. So, Shroud X trading out effectively here, still able to delay onto the point for a little bit longer. See Doomed up here over the top. Mace going to be brought back in via the Revival. So Citadel still in on the point, but if you're Shroud X, you're totally okay with this delay right now, Vast.
And they are going to have that God of Mission with the Fatal World copy to just keep them up a little bit longer. Really good hook there, too, from Vision. Just keeping the pressure up, getting the bonus health. So Citadel Gaming, they're still trying to break this hold. They're not able to find anyone just yet. Fraud running back in, looking to find one, but they have to be worried about the Eye of Agamotto.
Yeah, Meteor M, meanwhile, from Mace over, not going to get anything. Fraud coming back in with the self-res, and in control of the point still is Shroud X. Not looking to be moved here one bit. Fraud to try and crack it open here. Another Galactic Legend up over the top. Looking for anything. Meanwhile, they lose Usher. Galactic Legend able to take down one. Get some vision here in the back line. Still needs a little bit more. 99% right now for Shroud X. Dropping down is Star-Lord, but Fate of Both Worlds going to be invested here by Shroud X. They are nice and alive. So Citadel still trying to find a way to remove Shroud X off the point. Dogman is down, and they may have gotten the crack in the dam they were looking for.
Maybe so, but I mean, Nuck with the copy still gonna have another Fate of Both World. They're gonna have the Strangling Prison up available here just to make it through the Sonic Seduction. Gonna pop this here late in the fight. I don't know if there's any strategy, they might be able to clean it up here.
Yeah, and Citadel, they're gonna get the flip off of this finally here. And I mean, the one upside they are running the comp they're running here is that they do have a little bit more sustain on the point. So you'd have to think this is gonna be something here where, okay, it took them a long time to get in with the triple strategist, but at the bare minimum, they're going to be harder to remove, especially if Usher can get value with the Karmic Rebirth. But 12% to 99%, it's still a very long way to go.
To be fair, even listening to Dogman earlier in Europe, I mean, he's on side of team no, pretty much no Adam Warlock, of just getting a lot. It's tough to get value out of the reses. If anything, I'm hoping for Citadel just to pop one ult here, just use the Galactic Legend for fraud as they come on in, try to feast on the backline here a bit. But instead, Doomed gonna be doing the feasting instead.
They have to pop the Rebirth pretty much instantly here. Otherwise, I don't think they're going to be getting back in this fight. Monster, though, is about to go all the way back to spawn. They haven't used it here. Monster does go back to spawn. Fraud, meanwhile, comes on in. Galactic Legend looking to soften up Shroud X. Doom getting pretty low in turn. However, Galactic Legend getting a fade. No pickoffs resulting from it. Fraud actually in a little bit of danger. Fruit Ball his way, ends up backing out. Now you got to look to Mace. Meteor M is good to go. We're in overtime. Velocity is down. Citadel just getting chopped up in the backline by Doomed.
Cool. I mean, Karmic Revival is going to be up for Usher here, and they are going to also have the usual boundary for Valentina Eve. But the problem here is they have to finish out this point now, right? They don't have any. They don't have any DPS ults, no dual ults up available here. Mace going to hold on to the Meteor to maybe burn through one of the strategist ults, and they need to get one from this.
And they get 0 is where it's at right now. And 0 coming in from the Meteor M. Citadel gonna be delaying, looking for the miracle. No longer in control of the points. Not even getting progress and vision with the Kraken Impact. Gonna find 3. More and more coming on in from Shroud X, and that should be the round.
And you'd be correct. That is gonna be the round, and just, I mean, a tough one for Citadel. And I think this is also for Hell's Heaven. I mean, for Super Soldier Factory in particular, it's just a really hard point to recontest at times. I mean, every point here on Hell's Heaven is tough to recontest. You have to deal with a very aggressive choke. Sometimes you deal with the rotating geometry of the map. And even with the Starlord, where it's like, okay, we have some flank control here, they were just losing someone so early to the Pharaoh Elite from Doomed over and over and over again. And that just can't happen, right? Like, you had the Magneto, you have Enema Frost, so you should have some, you even have like the triple res. So you have some opportunities here to deny that value. But they just weren't able to deny the value from Doomed at all. So they just kept building up the huge ult bank, huge time bank. Nothing much that Citadel could do in that situation if you have such a gigantic disadvantage and you just can't find a pick and can't stop the picks from Doom.
And for Citadel, see what, if anything, gets changed up here into the next round. For right now, if you can trust the spawn, it looks like they're not going to be coming out here at the Adam Warlock again, which, in my estimation, I generally think is the right call. I think changing up, probably a good idea. And not the real Jeff, just the bubble you out of spawn Jeff.
Fake Jeff.
Fake Jeff.
The poser Jeff.
Exactly.
Real Jeff would always stay with us, but unfortunately, fake Jeff leaves us after a couple bubbles. It's unfortunate. I mean, you know, you've heard of the bubble popping, but literally, the Jeff bubble pops, and he's gone. He's out of there. So now, Citadel Gaming looking to equalize. They do hold on to an early Galactic Legend, knowing there's no strategist ults available just yet, so they could try to just pop this early. Monster, though, gonna get found by the lead.
Yeah, Doomed with the quick abduction. Galactic Legend gonna be popped here in turn. Citadel trying to stabilize from it. Regen domain gonna get popped, kind of limiting the amount of damage Fraud can do here during the duration of the ultimate. Galactic Legend get fade. However, softened up a little bit is Shroud X. Iox actually gonna come in here with Kraken Impact. All ults being burned for Citadel Gaming, looking for anything right now, and instead, Doomed with the last stand takes down Mace. Pierces into the backline, puts Shroud X up one, and it's just not going well for Citadel Gaming here so far, Bass.
Yeah, I mean, they're also committing the God Initiative, though, for Velocity as well, so they want to stay in this fight. But right now, Shroud X, everyone's up. They still hold on to a Fated with Worlds there for Fidel as well, so there's still plenty of options to keep them in the fight. Strength of the Prison going to come out, and I think that should just turn it here.
Vision, investing Kraken Impact. This is a full cleanup. Kraken Impact drops on in, has one reset here so far, picks up another, up and over he goes. And right now, it's just about get off the point. First control yet to be grabbed by either team, but with the Kraken Impact that just will not stop. It's looking like Shroud X will get first control.
Right now, Citadel still just not able to find some of these answers. Doing a bit better here with the swap to 2-2-2. And Shroud X holding this point, holding this choke very aggressively as well. Dongman with the Eye of Agamotto could likely just try to set this up. It's the only ult really available for Shroud X to make something proactively happen.
Meteor M in from Mace, looking to do anything to turn this around, but instead it's just regen domain for days. However, with the regen domain forced on out, may create a little bit more room for Fraud with his Galactic Legend ready to go, but also at the same time, Shroud X is forcing Citadel Gaming so far back right now, Vast.
Yeah, I mean, Citadel just has no space. They have no space to work with. Great. They're going to sustain through those ults, but Shroud X are just getting more and more time on the bank. gonna back on up now. This is their chance, right? Fidel does not gonna have a strategist hold up. They're not gonna have the build worlds. They have a Galactic Legend. They have a Kraken Impact. Surely they can make something happen here after forcing the regeneration domain.
Fraud, though, instead gonna get hooked to ground, but okay, Galactic Legend still up. Punishes Vision for the hook attempt. Up one is Citadel Gaming. Down 54%. This is a fight they really do need to win, but guess what? Here comes Dongmin Doomed into the back. Finds Monster, opens the way. Shroud X with vicious cleanup. And this leaves Citadel Gaming really with only one more good attempt to somehow turn this thing around.
And this is the problem, right? Where again, Doomed is just getting value over and over and over again. And that time, Citadel Gaming, I mean, they had a double duelist ult. There was no ults on the strategist side for Shroud X at all, but they were just able to completely kite back, pop one regeneration domain for Nuck, completely just nullifies the entirety of it. Dongmin takes some early damage, but they have to be worried about the Strangling Prison Kraken Impact combo, right? Because sure, they're gonna have a God of Mischief for velocity, but there's not a lot to mitigate this combo here for Shroud X, especially if they just pop the Fatal with Worlds with the damage boost too.
Vision hanging back here, Kraken Impact still ready to go. Coming up and over. Gonna hold on till last moment. Shroud X and do Fate of Both Worlds. And they do it first, so Valentina a little bit later. Meanwhile, Pulse Cannon over, finds impunity. Crucial early pick here from Citadel Gaming. Now, can they get a little bit more? They're in overtime. They cannot back down. However, they lose a Vanguard of their own. Vision able to pay dirt off the Kraken Impact and a little bit fall through thereafter. Nuck though, strategist about to be fading. Fraud, Omega Hurricane went into the back. Now looking to force Shroud X off the point, picks off one in Vision, and the point nearly flipped in favor of Citadel, but even if they get this now, Vast, it's gonna be a long way to go.
I mean, they're pretty much back in a similar situation they were on the first point earlier here for Super Soldier Factory, where there's no bank. They have to just perfectly hold this, have a perfect ult economy. Luckily, Mace's death there is almost a blessing because they didn't get to use Meteorium. It's sort of like a forced investment, a forced savings account there, where you just hold on to the Meteorium. But Shroud X get to enter this point here again with the Hela swap too, which I really like into the Iron Man. So Usher's gonna have a little bit more trouble there in Division now with the Hela. I have Agamotto and the Last Stand available here for Shroud X as Doomed on the long flank again.
You know, in America, there is forced investment. It's called Social Security, is actually what that would be. But now...
That's very true, but I don't think its Meteorium's growing at market value.
No, probably not. Well, neither is their Social Security, to be fair, but Doomed in the back right now has Last Stand. Looking and waiting. Taking his time, going for the abduction. Not quite going to connect. Still has the Last Stand ready to go as we hit our follower goal at 10,000. Thank you, everyone, for hitting the button. As we hit the button, so does Doomed. Up and over, finds Mace. Gives his life for it, though. Trade out. Citadel, where again, they cannot lose this fight or the map is over. And right now, trading out kind of evenly. Fraud getting decent value as the Storm up in the skybox. Dongmin though, going in, Agamotto, only its velocity, but that may be enough. The fall through is instantly there, and Shroud X nearly has this one in the bag.
I think off of that, Dongmin has maybe sealed the deal here for the map. Mace going over the Doctor Strange to get this portal up, to go for this last contest. It's just going to be Mace, though. No ult just available, but there are going to be some ults coming out for Citadel. So there's a chance here because Fidel needs to have a really good Fatal with Worlds to the counter the Mega Hurricane. And then Usher going to be looking for this Pulse Cannon afterwards.
Oh, he gets one pick on the Fidel. Really good start here for Citadel as they look to hang on to here. Shroud X starting to fall by the wayside. If you're Shroud X, you still have time. You can go for the reset, and you are forced, in fact, to do so.
I mean, what a play there from Fraud, because Mace gets to contest great. I have Agamotto going to be available. I mean, double Vanguard ult plus a strategist, plus still holding on to the Pulse Cannon. Fraud getting so much value there from the Omega Hurricane, forcing all those cooldowns and the strategist ult early. And just the Goddess boost, that damage there from the Aura of Thunder, from that Thunder Aura, is incredibly strong for Citadel Gaming. So really the Storm impact being felt here for Citadel Gaming.
Portal coming on in, 91% to 99. Citadel looking to force around 3. Shroud X looking to put away Doomed. Eating a lot of poke damage here at the beginning, nearly going down. Nuck, can be dropped down. I have Agamotto. Meanwhile, used by Mace. Got Fidel in the back, and the fall through's gonna be there. Fraud following up. What is set up by the front line. 2 now down, make it 3. Usher with the Pulse Cannon. Citadel Gaming finding their footing. Gonna bring this one to a 3rd round after a very rocky start.
And all off that back of that incredible recontest from Mace and Fraud. Just makes it back in time, gets so much value on the Storm. And we've talked about a lot about how Storm has seen so much play, and you just essentially she is a flyer, but she's also just gives so much team value compared to mini flyers where you're using those auras. You have the Omega Hurricane to get just so much AoE pressure as well, comparatively to many other flyers. I mean, the next closest would probably be like Human Torch. in terms of just the AoE overall damage you're pumping out. But even compared to the Human Torch, she brings those auras of thunder, the aura of the tornado, where you can just get speed boost and damage boost for the whole squad. And you see it reflected here a bit, just looking at the overall damage dealt, right, which is to be expected. I mean, and also even look at the final hits, 13 final hits for Fraud.
Yeah, and I mean, the swap over to the Storm instead of the Star-Lord really was the definitive moment where Citadel Gaming finally got some measure of control over the game. And I do wonder if the swap up from Shroud X was exactly what they needed, because realistically speaking, think about Shroud X, they can play a really good Hela game, and it's one of the other duelists you may consider picking off when you are just having immense problems with Storm in this sort of situation. That said, this area is a little bit less room to work with, so the Storm may not be as effective here, Avast.
For sure, a little bit, but I think that's also where Storm, you may have less room, but it's also to a degree almost better because you get even more room from the aura, almost, right? So you have that option is already, even with the leap, they're going to use the Mega Hurricane to try to take some pressure off, but a little too late.
Yeah, they lost velocity really early. Regen Demand's going to come out. The Mega Hurricane going to be forced on back. Shroud X working at a big advantage right now in this first fight. Fraud, though, going to try and work this one back. Shroud X moving forward all the way. Doomed able to get some isolation on the Mace. And Vision with the fall through on the Fraud means that this will be first control to Shroud X.
And there's going to be a lot of pressure here onto the Citadel game. I mean, really onto Mace to not only deny Doom's value, but also to ensure that this fight can run long enough to where Fraud and Usher can get picks. Because this is currently just a racing game of like, okay, can we outrace Doomed for the leaps, for the isolations, setting up impunity as well to get strength in prisons? Like, they just need to be outracing the Citadel Gaming duelists.
Doomed camping the high ground. Instead, it's going to be the low ground approach from Citadel Gaming. Doom, though, taking a walk over to the right. A huge pick up and over. However, it's not actually fall through on. Still alive. Was the leap target. Meanwhile, we got Usher coming on over, dropping Pulse Cannon. No kills resulting from it. Shroud X weathering the storm from Citadel Gaming here so far. Last ult up here for Citadel. Meteor M. Mace getting super low. Falls in and gets knocked. Quick low slam dunk from Citadel Gaming, keeping them alive. However, Doomed was able to go over. Takes down the Emma. And still a tough engage from Citadel Gaming as they're starting to fall bit by bit.
And Dogman just keeping that pressure on the entire time. Despite what was a great Sonic Seduction. Just wait a minute. Here it comes. The stagger onto Valentina Eve. Oh no, it's going to be, I mean, that's an extra like probably 10% off the board there, unfortunately. So pretty rough stagger. Well played there from the Shroud X, just Vanguard line. Again, just keeping the pressure on, making sure there's no room for Citadel to just get space for their flyers here. Now, they do have to worry about the Mega Hurricane, but Doomed. He's hiding. He's waiting. Gotta find it. Nope, not quite.
I actually don't know how I didn't get that one. That looked like it was completely locked in. Just a little bit off was Doomed. Here comes Fraud. A Mega Hurricane into that. Gonna be forcing out Fate of both worlds in turn. Usher, though, in the chaos, picks off Impunity. A massive early pick right now for Citadel Gaming with their backs against the wall and the map hanging in the balance. Shroud X, though, they just decided to we're gonna back up a little bit here, wait for a full 6. Doomed gets enough time to go to the back line, plenty of room, but kind of misuses the dash here, in real danger. And now getting super low, under fire from all ends, and ends up falling. Not the engage Doomed was looking for, and the rest of Citadel just roll into the back of Shroud X.
But still, having that Wolverine there for fights like that where you can just delay the point even long because of that passive, the regenerative healing factor, just gives you a lot of sustain. So 99 here on the bank for Shroud again. But they kind of got reverse swept in the previous round. Has to be kind of really careful, I would say, especially with Citadel doing so much work with this double flyer composition, holding the choke really aggressively, just pumping the damage into them. I mean, the ult bank for Citadel going to be gigantic as they enter.
The ult bank that Citadel has gives them a whole lot of options, and they're going to kick things off here with the Omega Hurricane. Fraud into the back. Going to be getting the regen domains out. And you want to lead with the Omega Hurricane here, get the resources out, because Usher is who you want to really put them to bed. Fate of both worlds going to be dropped here. Agamotto
denied. Interrupted the pulse.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, and you're right. It interrupted the pulse cannon on top of it. Absolutely ridiculous. But Mace with the fall through. Meteor M takes down 2. Citadel still able to stay alive despite the ridiculous Agamotto from Dogman.
And really a lot of credit there to the Vanguard line for Citadel, because the Sonic Seduction plus the Meteor M just cleans them up. So well played, even with Dogman hitting the gigantic Agamotto. Shroud X going to walk in here with a Kraken impact. They're going to have to play with the world, so they have some options here to kind of just turn this fight early, maybe trade that God of Mischief into velocity, trade the strategy tools in, maybe pop the Kraken impact. But there's really nothing else on the board. I mean, this is scary. Fraud and Usher both about to have ults.
Yeah, he got the refund. You don't lose all of it. He got the old 50% back. So he's ready to go for another crack with the maximum pulse. Up over here to the right. Usher looking to put it away. Omega Hurricane would love to come out first and is. So again, it's going to be Fraud trying to get regen domains out, trying to get Fate of both worlds out. Again, it's a resource draining Omega Hurricane. Now, you look over to the Iron Man. Gonna be looking here for the Pulse Cannon. Pulse Cannon charged up. Good to go. Into the back. No, not gonna get what losing for. Still at a regen domain down. Shroud X still looking good. Now, gonna drop the Loki clone. Move on in for a dance of their own. Vision has the Kraken Impact ready to go. Could put this away here for Shroud X. With the right opportunity, Dogman takes down one. Citadel down a player right now, and the worst may still be yet to come. Mace gonna try and equalize. Meteor M turns, fires, finds Nuck. Citadel Gaming still alive, but here comes Vision into the back. Kraken Impact has already grabbed one. Goes for the reset. May not get another. Instead, getting choke slammed off in the corner. A little bit of control coming in here from Monster, who puts Vision in the ground. Citadel Gaming fighting on back with the Psyox Seduction, looking for a little bit more. Shroud X may be done.
I mean, I think that Doom can get the last second touch there. Is going to have, oh, doesn't have the passive up just yet. And that's going to be the map. And so well played from Citadel Gaming, in particular, the Vanguard line. I mean, Mace and Monster doing such a good job of denying the value later in those fights, just making sure to also get constant meter in value too. Multiple key moments for Mace. Really well played from Citadel Gaming. Denied Shroud X kind of just that usage at Wolverine, which is something that we've seen a lot from them too. And they really just completely shut it down.
Yeah, it's so strange to me that they picked an anti-tank hero, and it looked really good early on, and then somehow the Vanguards still played well against the anti-tank hero that they picked.
Also, you know, on top of that, I think to the prelude we did when I was talking about Shroud X when we were looking at the roster screen, and I don't think the narrative has really changed. Shroud X still has ridiculous mechanical play and looks good at times, but putting together a complete map is a challenge for them, because you stop and think about it, both rounds that they ended up losing here, they were ahead drastically, and Citadel Gaming had to come back from being 99% in the hole on both rounds. Surely you would think that a team at the highest level would be able to finish out one of those two rounds. I mean, I'll just put it out here this way. Would VP lose two rounds like that in a row? I feel like the answer is no.
Sure, it's an interesting question. It's actually something I had brought up when we were talking about the EU squads too. Like, you know, is the composition versus the execution, you know, something that we need to talk about a little bit. Like, obviously, the best teams have both of them. Shroud X clearly has the execution, but it's not the composition. So, is there a draft problem, Connor?
I mean, I think if anything there, that's just kind of an issue of maybe not making the swaps fast enough. I think they were really hard stuck on the Wolverine comp because they were making it work, but the Flyer has started to eat them up a bit, right? I think Mace and Monster did a really good job, especially because the picks were good into the Wolverine. But as you watched it go on, you didn't see Wolverine get very many picks. Didn't get a lot of value as those rounds went further. And a large part of that, I think, is just because the double Flyer composition was putting so much pressure onto Shroud X, and they just couldn't close out, like ZP said. And I think it's one of those things where maybe if you have a little bit more flexibility, you make a swap a bit further when you realize that you're being outgunned a bit.
Sure. As we walk back through the highlights,
I like how this highlight was Mace messing up the portal. It was Mace just not denying the portal fast enough.
Well, look, highlights can be many things, not just a good play, but also the lowlights can be highlights of themselves. That's all I know.
Yeah, well, we have the losing team does get to pick the next map. Is there a map specifically that you think would favor this squad to bring it back to a 1v1 ZP?
Truthfully, I think for Shroud X, they have looked better over time on convoy maps, because I think any sort of map where you have a little bit of a buffer for some team fights that are a little bit inconsistent is probably a good thing. I think domination, oddly enough, is kind of those things where teams can make bigger comebacks against Shroud X than, say, Convoy, where, again, they have more room and more fights to correct mistakes going against them. So, yeah, I would like to see them go to a Convoy map. Doesn't really matter which one, just not domination is what I would say.
Just any sort of convoy map. Fair enough. Yeah, the Citadel squad, you know, somewhat, you know, I guess not new to the scene. They've been under another name somewhat. Yeah, we'll see how they do. I was really impressed with Escher, actually. As we're looking through some of the Escher highlights,
MC Escher?
is this a... Yeah, well, yeah, of course, MC Escher. Is this a player that I should know? Is this a player you guys know? Is that one of the better DPS players?
Honestly, I'm not particularly aware with them. I mean, this has been, like we talked about, this was the former Boom Crew squad. They made a lot of changes. There hasn't been a ton of tournaments, right? It's pretty much just like us, and then the Marvel Rivals, like Championship, Marvel Rivals Invitational coming into the Ignite. So I personally haven't seen them. I mean, I'm sure there's someone that's more in the weed. I bet if we have coaches in chat, they're like, actually, he's been on my scouting doc for 3 to 4 weeks, and, you know, I've been tracking their games, stuff like that. Like, I bet if one coach is there, they could probably put that. But for me personally, I haven't seen them. So this is kind of like a new look entirely, like ZP was saying earlier, for this revamped former Boom Crew squad into Citadel Gaming, and kind of seeing what can they do now, I think. And just is kind of like for me, kind of a slate wipe, perhaps, because I really haven't seen this roster a lot.
I mean, it's always good to learn. We're going to head to another map, which is Baron Tinchala. Does this mean anything to either of you as far as what these rosters can run, what these teams are good at?
Well,
domination.
Yeah, it's domination, which is one thing I didn't want Shroud X actually to go over and into here. I mean, on the same note, you can kind of make the devil's advocate argument the other way, is that they won the first round very convincingly, and the next 2 rounds they got to 99 before any cap was able to be had by Citadel Gaming. So from that perspective, you could kind of make the argument of, well, if you were to run the last map 10 times, maybe Shroud X is going to win like 8 of them by that logic, because how often are you going to fumble that hard on the 2 maps being up 99? So I can kind of see the logic of them going over the domination, but I do think is one game type that is a little bit more variable, and the more variable of a mode you are in, I think the worse it is for a team whose #1 struggle historically is their ability to be consistent.
Yeah, King of the Hill is always more variable. You know, whatever the game starts to call it, it's always King of the Hill, right? There's been like 5 different games. They all call it something different. It's King of the Hill. Yeah, so Avast, let me ask you this, is who is going to be the player who wins MVP in this map?
Well, I mean, that's
I know you're thrilled with that.
That's like a very loaded. It's like the most. Okay, so I want you to consult the tarot deck and then tell me the future. Also,
I actually have
not a
tarot decks.
Oh well, you know, you should start doing some draw. I mean, that wouldn't be. You know, I'm sure for all the people that care about like the spiritual aspects, that wouldn't be disrespectful if we start.
I care about your
opinion
opinion more than either of those. So
that's so true. I mean, I think actually I'll have to talk to some of my astrology friends. See, more importantly, see maybe what the stars say.
Am I
also,
not one of your
unrelated to
astrology
this.
friends?
No, you're not one of my astrology friends. I will say that they're saying that apparently it's not Escher, it's Usher. Usher. Okay. That is what the people have been yelling at us in chat. It's Usher, apparently. So be aware of that. So Usher told us that name. So I do think overall that for the MVP, if it continues like it was in the first map, honestly, fraud might be kind of this driving force. And to be fair, they were a driving force for this team beforehand when they were so Boom Crew as well. So I mean, they had a really, really good performance on the Storm. I really like what they were bringing to the table. They got a lot of value out of General of the Aura, so maybe that again.
Yeah, it's so odd because Storm has been so you're the best or also you're the worst hero in the server. It's been kind of a weird thing to play. ZP, as we go into T'Challa, any thoughts or insights?
Look, for me, I'm just kind of following the Shroud X story as much as I am the Citadel Gaming story of the 2 teams. Also, beyond that, I'm not sure the name pronunciation thing. We will take chat at their word, but we may be going down a dark path here where we may be being misled. It's kind of those things where it's like
that word is pronounced. By the way, as someone who knows how words are pronounced, that is not how that word is pronounced.
Well, I mean, when has it ever stopped players? Has it ever stopped players picking a name that's completely wrong?
Yeah. Every now and then we will veto the players though. My favorite was back in Overwatch where you had the player ZZA.
Pizza store?
Yeah. ZZA is like, actually, I want it to be pronounced pizza. It's like, no, there's no P and I here. We are not pronouncing ZZA pizza. You are ZA until you change your name. And the name was never changed. So that's just kind of where that one lived and then later died.
Just put your name on the screen. That's all we ask for. It's not asking for a lot, I don't think. Just put your name on the screen.
It's harder for some than most.
I have nothing else to fill with. How are you doing?
Well, I mean, I'm currently seeing Dogman. Dustin is typing in chat saying, "Why do I look like I've been a completely different person and been replaced?" So I know if we put Dustin into a bird cage and we put like the blanket over the top, he'd go to sleep like thinking it would nighttime because like overall like it's just a different camera setup. So it's not that different, Dustin, unfortunately. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Oh, thankfully we're into the draft, which of course means that we are first banning Human Torch. Obviously the first bans.
Yeah, no one wants to play against Human Torch. They do be hating the Human Torch like overall. We just don't see him like played realistically very much at all. And Shroud X looking like they still want to try to force just them getting Groot. Like, no, we keep Groot, no Groot for you, potentially.
Yeah, I like the Groot Protect a lot. I feel like North America is very Groot heavy. We'll see if that happens. ZP, what are you thinking about the draft so far?
Well, I definitely think they're going to come in with a ban of the... Well, okay, maybe not. I was going to say protect the group, ban the group, but in this case decide...
They still have time.
Well, you know what it is? I think they got tired of losing fights to Meteor M from Mace. I think it was like one too many Meteor M's that saved what was probably going to be a winning game, and they decided they were done with it. No more Magneto. Get him out of here.
Tired of getting hit with that. We'll see what the last couple end up being.
Well, with the Psylocke gone too, then okay, they've denied that matchup, and also Fraud been a pretty good Psylocke in the past, so this could be a group protect, but I wouldn't be necessarily shocked if they would just want to say like, okay, like we're fine to not run Groot on Baron, like we just played like the Doctor Strange or something like that. Like yeah, instead they're gonna protect their Wolverine. So unless we're swapped, this is a pretty interesting pick for Citadel.
I don't think we're swapped again. I think the fact that we had the early protect Groot, to me, makes it more likely that Shroud X is on the right-hand side, but the fact that Citadel's protecting Wolverine probably does mean they want to do a little bit of Wolv on their own. Late Luna ban gonna be coming out here from Shroud X, and I mean, it's kind of interesting where the ban protects have ended up here. I think the fact that they're getting away with being able to ban the Luna late in the draft, the same has not really been done to them, and they're protecting the Wolverine. I think you're Citadel, you're very incentivized to ban Luna here as your final ban.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, I think for them, like, if they can just remove the Luna off the field here, because also it removes the ability for Shroud X to like pull out stuff like really strong flyers, and potentially like, yeah, you still have the Invisible Woman with the Guardian Shield, but Snowflake, the Idol Aura, is still one of the consistently best abilities in terms of like giving value to your flankers and to your flyers in general. So definitely you don't want to have to like run against that in general. For them, especially because Iron Fist is so strong, and as of right now, still, you know, they haven't removed that team up yet. I think it's in 2.5, so they still had that Luna Snow Iron Fist team up, which can kind of run havoc around teams.
We'll see. Both teams kind of think they might run Wolvie. I enjoy it.
Wolvie, you know him like that?
Yeah. No, me and Logan are friends.
If you called him Wolvie, you would no longer be friends. You would be in like 3 different pieces, just to be clear.
You know, come on, bub. I'll see you guys after the map. ZP, Avast, take it away.
Man thinks he can call Wolverine Wolvie. It's unbelievable, Avast. Really.
I know. Well, maybe Hex, he could be a mutant. He could go to Professor Xavier's school of mutant children, perhaps. Like, I don't know what exactly his mutant power would be, but it would he could be there.
Can you weaponize cynicism?
That's possible. It's certainly possible. Maybe he could be like, I know every movie, like that's my mutant power. And then they're like, oh, but do you like work in like Hollywood? It's like, no, I'm just like really like annoying online about it. Like I don't know anything about, I can't do anything like that, but I know a lot of movie trivia and things like that. But instead, Citadel, I mean ZP, you look at this and they have the Groot. So we have our Groot mirror. It's happening.
Groot versus Groot. Wolverine on one side, no Wolverine on the other. So we'll see if Doom is able to do his work again. Doom looking really good for a lot of the last round, but right now, getting pummeled at the beginning, nearly burst on down. Citadel Gaming doing a great job early on, but Monster getting hit in by the Bucky hook. Super low, and Impunity gonna punish. And with the Groot advantage, Shroud X up 1, able to get better positioning here on the point. Looking to fully secure it here. Citadel Gaming running out of options to keep this delayed. If Doom
and this is a really hard comp, ZP, by the way, because you look at this. Also, I'm a Fish 213. Thank you so much for the Prime. Glad you made it out of the bowl. Hit us with the Prime there. But more importantly, you look at Citadel's comp and you look at Shroud's comp, Shroud X Gaming comp. The vision being on Winter Soldier when there's no Magneto on the field here, this is a really dangerous comp, right? Because if he's hitting those bionic hooks, there's no bubbles. You have no ability to save, right? Like unless Mace is able to hit like a really crazy like Mind Aegis, which is really not the same. I mean, the bionic hooks could go crazy here for Shroud X because there's no Magneto on the field.
Yeah, no Magneto gives you way more room for the hooks, and I mean, hooks are one way of securing an early kill, even against triple strategists. But here we go, Fraud up into the air. Galactic Legend going to be used, and everything is popped against it. Regen Domain and Invisible Boundary, which honestly not the worst trade in the world. Meanwhile, Impunity dropping the Strangling Prison up and over, setting up Vision for the Kraken impacts. 2 already down, looking for a little bit more. Goes to sleep. Now, a little bit tired after all of that, and Karmic Rebirth comes on in, but the fall through, hey, instantly be there. Dogman dropping the high back of it. Stuns coming on in. Rez, though, in turn, Citadel Gaming not falling here just yet. Silence Seduction on deck. Doom, though, last stand up, over, trying to cut it to pieces. Gets a little bit more. Gets the abduct here on to the group. Monster gonna be dead, and this time staying there as Citadel Gaming still tries to make something work.
Not gonna lie, I think potentially Shroud X, this is very, very bad news for Citadel Gaming right now, because currently with no Magneto, both Vision and Doomed are gonna be extreme nuisances. Now the fight is still ongoing. They're gonna have a Galactic Legend, but they need to get some value from it right now, or else, I mean, we're getting to like a 99 on the bank here for Shroud X.
And you know, a key difference here is that you don't have the Meteor M that can be followed up here after the Galactic Legend the way they had before. Mace not being on Magneto just has definitely seemed to be a huge detriment to Citadel Gaming here so far, but they are fully reestablished. You're gonna get the Clone Soul Resurgence. Not the most common Loki clone target, but it is one you're gonna be seeing here. Now Shroud X dropping the Invisible Boundary in turn, and not really feeling too afraid of it here, Vash. Just chilling out in the boundary. Doom, meanwhile, off, looking for targets. Vision. Kraken Impact good to go as soon as Impunity can drop the prison. Here's the prison. There's the impact. As Falter going to be there, looking for it. Gets reset number 1. Here comes number 2. And Shroud X should be easy claim for here as the Kraken Impacts keep on a-coming.
And the Galactic Legend, I mean, not finding much. Karmic Revival going to be available for Usher there, bringing everyone up. But once again, we're in this situation where, okay, great, we have a Karmic Revival. Awesome. We're going to have some ults, but we got to touch the point. We have to win this fight from a disadvantage.
Yeah, I mean, you get the revival, but is it going to do anything for you in the fight right now? It's letting you delay, but you need pickoffs. Meanwhile, Doomed just lifts them off the point for the forcible C9. Which just means it wasn't really a C9, but you get the
You know what? I mean, you know, it's a Citadel Gaming 9, the CG9. Perhaps it's a new one, but I mean, overall, it was well played. I mean, I think Citadel Gaming, they put up a good showing, but I do think, for me, if I'm going to start, you know, building a narrative early, if I'm gonna start like just enforcing my will upon this game in terms of like just putting my own beliefs here, I do think, especially when you see the amount of final hits in general that Vision is getting, I think not having that Magneto is gonna be tough for Citadel Gaming. For them, it's maybe a question of like, can we get back to the flyer composition? Can we maybe move to like something like a dive style? Something that can keep some more pressure here onto Vision and Doomed in particular, because there's just really not much of an option right now when you're playing, especially when you're playing the triple strategist. I just don't think they're pretty much just hoping like, oh, we're just gonna keep respawning after they keep getting a limbs on us. Like, we'll just keep coming back endlessly. They're gonna get tired.
Yeah, I mean, Karmic Rebirth, I think, may be one of the hardest ultimates to get value of in the game, in the sense of actually having it turn a team fight. In a way, you almost need a fight where both teams are down players, and the Karmic Rebirth gives you advantage. Karmic Rebirth just bringing you back up to a 6v6 doesn't feel great most of the time.
So right now, Citadel Gaming just playing this point really aggressively with the Storm. They've gone back to the flyer composition with Usher also going to the Iron Man. So they kind of heard my pleas, and they're going to be playing this double flyer comp.
Rod, Omega Hurricane tries to wait till the last possible second before dropping it. Invisible Boundary, though, still going to be negating a lot of it. Okay, Fraud goes in, and the Tornado is immediately quelled. Impunity, having none of it. So you're down the Storm early on, not the start Citadel Gaming was looking for. And now Doomed going, hey, Emma, what's up? Come on over here, meet my friends. And Emma just getting sliced to bits. However, Invisible Boundary is going to come on down. Citadel Gaming able to heal on up. Pulse Cannon in from Usher. Does not get anything. Shroud X still very healthy here on the point. A point which no one has capped yet, I may add. But first pickoff, going to go the way of the Mace. Able to find Vision. A little bit of life now for Citadel Gaming as Mace coming alive here on the Emma.
Okay, and Citadel Gaming going to get the first flip. And they made sure to get a lot more I really do like this swap to the Invisible Woman. Invisible Woman pretty good at dealing with the Wolverine, at least better. You also have the Guardian Shields, of course, to give power to your flyers. Invisible Boundary probably, I would argue, might be the best strategist ult potentially behind Fate of the World. So it's really, really strong in general. And Monster onto the Captain America means there's just a lot more pressure here, right? A lot more pressure onto Shroud X in general. Onto as already they're making the swap. They've gone triple res here, ZP. They've said, okay, we know they swapped. We see these swaps. We're gonna have a little bit of an anti-dive setup here.
Yeah, I mean, interesting to see Shroud X with the
Oh
swap
no! Oh no! The miss on the strangling prison. Maybe off a boop. Maybe off just a misclick.
Either way, no one went to jail. Citadel was playing Monopoly earlier. Everyone got their get out of jail free cards. Shroud X gonna have to look to win this fight a different way. We're looking at Dogman. Eye of Agamotto ready to go. Citadel though super stacked in their ult bank, so they need something sooner rather than later. Meso with the Sonic Seduction and the Pulse Cannon on top. Gonna take down 2. Vision though gonna res themselves. No Karmic Revival though. Ready to go. A losing fight this feels like right now for Shroud X. At this point, you feel like you gotta go for a bit of a reset.
Now, they did get a decent amount of ults out of Citadel Gaming there. I mean, they have to worry about the Omega Hurricane and the Invisible Boundary again, but they'll have some options. The problem here is that, okay, you go into this fight, it's like, okay, great. We have a Galactic Legend. Awesome. Pretty decent to the Flyers, but pretty easy to mitigate, especially when you have the Guardian Shields. And you can just play around that and you're close to Invisible Boundary. Then Eye of Agamotto maybe can keep them in place, but you're just going to be worried about Fraud popping the Omega Hurricane when there's just no mitigation at all, right? There's not a strategy tool. Then Shroud X instead, they've actually make swaps. They're going to get the Rocket Raccoon. They're going to put Fidel onto the Invisible Woman. So there's like, we're not even going to worry about the Karmic Revival.
This is a ridiculous amount of swaps coming from Shroud X, but first things first, Galactic Legend in from Doomed. Off to the backhand side, looking for anything here, or at least get some resources down. You mean Dogman goes over and in, hits 2 with the Eye of Agamotto, but the fall through is not there. Dogman immediately dies right on after. BRB, bring him back in the fray. Shroud X though, struggling on this initiation here. Citadel looking really good. The punish from Fraud onto Impunity, and Shroud X is looking lost on the second round. Vision able to find 1. See if Shroud X can turn it around, but it's looking tough here, Vast.
Vision needs more. Vision needs more pressure. Doom keeping the pressure there on the velocity. What a good find as well. And right now, the duelist players for Shroud X, Doom doing a really good job also of just navigating around the point, keeping the pressure away from the rest of his front line and the rest of his back line. And I think Doomed and Vision, they might have turned it. They might have done this enough. Domin goes for that kind of that hero Eye of Agamotto. I think it was a little bit mistimed, but it at least gave Doom the pressure, the presence to get to the back line.
All right. We've turned the tables here at Vast. Instead of Citadel being the ones that need to come back from 99-0, it's Shroud X that need to come back from 99-0. Can they replicate what Citadel was able to do to them just 1 map ago, or will Citadel come in with ease? Gotta watch Usher here, Avast, because I feel like 1 good pulse cannon is all they need to turn this one around.
It's Doomed still once again trying to keep some pressure onto the back line. Invisible Boundary gonna be used. Right now, Citadel looking to find a pick, trying to find anyone. There is going to be the Amplifier, the CYA up for Shroud X, and they still have double dual assaults here. Citadel, they popped a lot early.
Meanwhile, Doomed still has the Galactic Legend ready to go, waiting for the opportunity. May have just found it, immediately guns down Usher, and now looking for extra. 2 down here, aided by Impunity and Shroud X, and they need it most. Able to hold back Citadel Gaming. Still not enough to win the round, but does get them ever closer. About 1 fight away, in fact.
Yeah, I mean, Citadel Gaming putting up some great stuff there. Leg Day Gaming on the other side on Twitch Prime. Thank you, Leg Day Gaming, as well, our other gaming partner. Gonna be dropping a Prime there. At Shroud X, they're gonna be looking to hold aggressively on this high ground, let Vision get some early poke. They do hold the Eye of Agamotto. But with Valentina, they have the Invisible Boundary, Valentina Eve, and they're also gonna have a late Omega Hurricane. So this is a little scary for Shroud X.
Oh, Shroud X, I think all eyes got to be on Dongmin here if they want to take this round, even up the series 1-1. Dongmin, what you got? Vision under all sorts of pressure, just barely saved by the Invisible Wind Shield. Dongmin staying here on the point. Invisible Boundary dropped by Citadel Gaming. Everything being put on in. Dogman super low, 200 HP. Needs a little bit of reprieve. No, the Omega Hurricane comes in from the back. No healing in from Dogman. No Eye of Agamotto to be used. And Citadel Gaming just about there. Vision though, 2 picks later in the fight. Shroud X gonna have a portal, I believe, in just a moment here to maybe keep this one going. Doom doing a great job of delaying here in the point. Overtime ticking on down. Is there gonna be a portal? Portal opens and it's not in time.
Yeah, just not quite fast enough. And I'm really Usher there being so important there, making the swap to Hela gets a lot of the early pressure on Division, forcing them off the angle, and additionally getting a lot of very, very big picks. And Dogman has to rotate, just waiting for the boundary to end, and it's just going to take out the Mega Hurricane for Fraud. So the duelists there for Citadel Gaming making a really good show for themselves. pretty equivalent across the board. Yeah, Vision has more limbs, but you know, they had a very dominant first round in general. And I think right now this is just kind of neck and neck.
On the bright side, going into what will be the final round of our second map, Shroud X, you look at Dongmin, who usually has been on point with the Eye of Agamotto's. The upside of getting crunched by the Omega Hurricane is that you can open with a sneakier Eye of Agamotto to kick things off, get first control, which of course in domination, about as important can be. So I'm looking at this and thinking all eyes on Dongmin for Shroud X as they try and set the tone in this all-important first fight.
Citadel Gaming keeping a pretty similar composition, keeping Yusha here onto the Hela, and this is a very long sightline map, so not surprised to see Helas on both these squads. There are going to be strategy ults available with Shroud X, you know, holding on Fidel's invisible boundary coming up, so they should be fine into the situation. They have a lot of offensive power, and you have to look at, okay, the Citadel want to play this low and slow, just try to force some ults out of Shroud X, or are they going to hope to just go early here with Monster?
Citadel getting a lot of progress on the point at the beginning. Shroud X playing a little bit further off the point, taking their time on the initial setup right now as both Helas looking for pickoffs. Ultimate's coming up. Early Sonic Seduction here from base, but Usher gonna get hit from the backline. Impunity able to get onto it. One up now is Shroud X, still hanging on to some key ultimates. Liberty Rush out. Meanwhile, Doomed up to the sky. Galactic Legend being used. Looking for pickoffs here is Shroud X, trying to keep Citadel Gaming on the back foot. See Monster right now. A little bit of pressure back towards the Shroud X side. But Citadel Gaming still down one, getting forced off the point a bit. Shroud X unable to find the important next pick to send this their way. Vision, meanwhile, gonna go to the sky, getting the barrier from Emma, really reducing how much they can deal with it. Yusha, though, finds Fidel while this is going on, gets one strategist down, and Citadel Gaming now maybe working at the edge here of Ast.
And Fraud, very uncontested currently. Gonna have the Omega Hurricane as well, going here through the mist. I mean, Vision already down, so a little bit unfortunate there. Gonna remove the regeneration domain, should just clean up these frags. And Citadel Gaming, I mean, the duelist picks here doing so much for them. I mean, Yusha, Fraud keeping this pressure on, and Fraud on the Storm continuing to just pump out a lot of damage there, especially with that Aura of Lightning.
Also, I mean, at some point you have to question, is Dongmin saving Eye of Agamotto for the next map? Dongmin was one of the only people with an ult heading into that first fight, and it was just never used. I get it, you never found the opportunity, but that is brutal when you would ideally like to use it earlier, and that's where a situation if you're ult tracking properly. Meanwhile, Yusha off here, looking for an early pickoff, a little bit of sight lines, and nearly gets picked in turn, so didn't quite like the looks of that.
So the pokes, still looking for those pokes here for both these squads. Yusha on the long flanks, looking for the Hela. Velocity holding on to the God of Mischief, so they're gonna have some options here, even if the Agamotto gets dropped for Dongmin. Doom now onto the Storm of their own, so trying to just counter the Storm, have the mirror, build up the Omega Hurricane, knowing that Fraud won't have it just yet. But it's just a long fight, and a long fight is really good for Citadel Gaming because they have control of the point, they have a Hela, they want to be poking.
Yeah, I mean, the time pressure is all on Shroud X here. Mace can open up here with the Sonic Seduction. Dongmin still hanging on to the Eye of Agamotto. Impunity's down. If you're gonna make a move, it has to be soon. Doomed getting really, really low. Healed up at the same time, and no, still bursted by Fraud. Shroud X losing player by player. Dongmin finally drops the Eye of Agamotto, but we've got nothing for it in turn. Shroud X working at a big disadvantage as Mace on the Emma Frost really finding their groove, getting cleanup after cleanup, and again, Shroud X finding themselves down to one last fight of Ast.
And getting this much value for Mace just popping this Sonic Seduction, something that just can't happen there for Shroud X when they also have Dongmin. Just should be able to block a lot more of that, just deny. But they did not, so 90% in the bank here for Citadel Gaming. They have plenty of ults on board. Shroud X looking to make the recontest. Doom going to be swapping to the Psylocke here, hoping to get to the back, also just be a fast hero in general for the contest. As Monsters heading to the backline, looking to make some more presence.
Let's go open with the Mega Hurricane and just 2 picks in the neutral before any ults are used. Shroud X may be about as cooked as a well-done steak. The Mega Hurricane off into the back. Fraud blowing them all over. Citadel Gaming. Vast just about done it here on map number 2. Gonna rip it away from Shroud X.
Map 2 going the way of Citadel Gaming. I mean, a team that we both have not seen a lot of. Rebuilding, now up 2 over Shroud X, a team that's been playing consistently. We've seen them in so many different tournaments. They've looked pretty good. So this is a great showing here for Citadel Gaming. Now, obviously, we'll have to see what does this mean moving forward into like the season 2.5 meta. But as of right now, I mean, they're showing a lot of good looks, right? They're being able to flex on a bunch of different archetypes or compositions. We've seen flyers, we've seen poke, we've seen a little bit brawl. I mean, for Citadel Gaming, this is a good omen.
I think it is, and I was just gonna say, Hex, we just saw the flyers really come into their own, where Citadel Gaming was able to use it way better.
Well, and MC Usher looked great. Apparently, that's how you say it.
There you go.
Yeah. Good for them. It's kind of surprising to see Shroud X not play up to the standard that I think we all expected them to play to. We know a little bit about Citadel Gaming. Again, they're the old Boom crew, and we know that about them, and they're a fine team. But we expect Shroud X to be as a team that's kind of sponsored and a team that's, kind of more on the level to play better than that. Like I don't know what went wrong for them. ZP, can you tell me what I don't know.
Well, I think
I don't
this
want you
round,
to call it a player, but
truthfully, I think this round was quite a bit different than, or rather, this map was a little bit different from the first. The first map, Shroud X basically had it in the bag and let it get away 2 rounds in a row when they were up 99.
Yeah.
This map, the first round went pretty well for them, and then the second and third rounds just were not good. As soon as you had the swap off over into a flyer comp, Shroud X was not dealing with it effectively. And look, I mean, it would be easy from the first map to kind of blame the Magneto. They got rid of the Magneto, and Mace came in and really found their footing on Emma Frost after the first round. And again, Shroud X just ran into trouble, and it felt, again, it's kind of a mix of things where at times they're getting staggered where they need to get staggered. I think their ult economy was still a little bit suspect, and at the end, just too many mistakes adding up that Citadel Gaming was more than willing to capitalize on.
Yeah, Avast in quotes. Avast. How does Shroud X not use this an embarrassing kill?
I mean, well, for step 1, win the next map. That's a step 1. But step 2, yeah, I know that's hard hitting analysis. But I think step 2 here is that currently it seems like they're pretty comfortable mashing Citadel Gaming across, triple res comp, brawl, dive even. But as soon as the flyers enter the field, that's where they start having a lot of big problems so far in this series. Also, maybe don't go to domination again. Don't go to domination again. ZP called that earlier. Stop going. They've done it twice now. They've lost both times. Maybe swap into a different game mode potentially.
Well, they got map pick. They can choose to not go to domination again. So ZP, what do you think they go to next? If they probably not domination, though, right?
You would think. However, sometimes there's a cynical part of me that goes, maybe you just want a quick night, and you either win on Krakoa or not, because there is there's an idea there of, well, maybe you get out of the way because Boom Crew is going to bring you there no matter what, or rather, Citadel is going to bring you there no matter what.
Right.
That being said, I think you get your footing back, you go to a convoy map, and you get to play things that, a little bit more long range, and I think maybe a little bit more to Shroud X's favor here. I don't know. I definitely don't want to see Krakoa show up as the third map. At the very least, win a map of your own map choice and make that map pick be something that, at a minimum, has to be burned by Citadel here. Because look, you're down 2-0. You are 1 map away from elimination and not getting that rematch against Under Thieves, where historically the Shroud X Under Thieves matchup has been pretty darn good.
Well, we do have the map pick. It's not this one. These are the map highlights, but we're going to Jalia. What do you think of that?
I mean, that's better, not domination. So definitely going to give them a little bit more room there. Also, a particularly map that's been pretty good for flyers in the past. So maybe for Shroud X, they're going to focus a bit more on those bans in this next pick ban phase of just removing those picks that have been so troublesome for them. I think for Citadel Gaming, just having Fraud and Usher be difference makers consistently. Definitely removing Magneto, I think, is also a good find for them because Mace has felt so impactful on Magneto, but also Mace has looked really good on the Emma Frost. So I don't think there's like a guaranteed, let's make sure to play this. Feels like currently maybe we just need to focus towards those flyers and just enable maybe Vision to play, this Hela some more. Though even though I say that, Usher looked really good in the Hela in the final round. Bjorn T'Challa, so not even a guaranteed win there on that front.
Yeah, it almost feels like play towards what you're best at rather than playing against what your opponents are best at. Like, they don't want to ban them. Let's just make sure that we get our best stuff. Do you think that's probably the play, ZP?
Look, I mean, I think the play right now is at least change up where you have been at here, and ideally run a composition that's going to be a little bit better against the Flyers, or if nothing else, I'd have to go back and look. I'm not sure Storm has actually been being protected. I do think there's a world where, look, if you're having this much issue with Storm in particular as a Flyer, you can get rid of it. The way the drafts have been going, and yes, you will give up something that you've been getting rid of in turn, but I do think the one common denominator between map 1 and map 2 has been fraud comes in on the Storm and things get quite bad for Shroud X. Their anti-flyer game has not been good here at all. And well, you take a look at what they've been banning, you know, maybe you let the Magneto through and get rid of the Storm, because I think of the two, that's actually been more where your problem has been in the series.
Well, we'll see. We can talk about bans once we get to like 2 and 3, because the first ban sounds always the exact same thing. Magneto out for Shroud X is their protect.
Okay, they might want to try to get removed then for Citadel potentially. Like, they might just be like, okay, we have Magneto, remove it from them. But instead, Citadel choosing this time. Well, I mean, I guess you could still ban protect, to be fair. That's still, you can still ban protect, so they could still just try to lock in this Emma Frost again for them, which they've been pretty happy with. I think a lot of this comes down to, as we get past these first few, is that are there going to be any duelist select? So instead, they are going to protect their Magnetos. They are going to keep the Magneto available for them here on this map. For Hall to Jolia, it's typically been, or Jolia, it's been a map that's, you know, you've seen a lot of value for Magneto in terms of bursting through these very strong support ults. And also, if you want to play like Wolverine or even Flyers, just having the bubble is very, very powerful.
Right. Do you think that protect is just for the burst damage of Est?
I mean, I think in general, when you look at this map, Magneto's a bit stronger than heroes like Emma Frost, where yeah, I think she's really strong, but when you're playing with really long distances and also like really long sidelines where like your flankers can be really far away and you have to be worried about flankers, having a bubble at times is a little bit more impactful than potentially having Emma if she does end up getting banned, which she did. So there isn't going to be Emma, there isn't going to be Groot, so you're not have to worry about the Groot walls either.
Get a last protect coming in for Citadel.
Yeah, and okay, Protect's against the Wolverine, which is kind of funny because they haven't really shown any inclination to run the Wolverine. They just want to keep the option to run it depending on the team comp that ends up coming in here, where Shroud X they run a certain variant of Groot comp where they go, okay, we need the Wolverine, but just because you protect something doesn't mean you need to play it. Final ban though coming in, it's going to be Luna, so if Citadel Gaming wants to take to the skies once more, they are absolutely going to have the opportunity, and also, yeah, Luna Protect coming in.
Just want to know that they can.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting idea too, because Luna, you enable your flankers a bit with the aura, but also gives them a chance that if they want to potentially try to play like a more like, oh, we have someone to chase down the backline and also chase down some of the duelists, you could have play this Emma Frost play as well with the Luna team up, as Loki is the final ban from Citadel, which, I mean, that is something that Shroud has played a ton of Loki. Obviously, Citadel, I think, like, they played a lot of Loki here too. So it's just more so, do they want to make sure to deny potential hella value, right? Because you have that team up that occurs where you get value from the limbs. So it could be kind of a target pick to just deny Vision a bit of changes or a bit of value there.
I think overall, this would be a surprise to us, guys, that Citadel comes in and beats Shroud X. It'd be kind of a stunning outcome. A little bit. We'll see. We'll see if it actually happens. ZP, take us through the map.
Yeah, and I mean, or we could do the NA Classic and do the reverse sweep. NA really does love the reverse sweeps here, Vass, so, you know, could just be one of those days, a 10-mapper. I'm not saying I'm hoping for that. I'm just respecting the reality of how often it seemingly happens as we get to Rivals Fight Night in North America.
Well, I mean, I could put a little hope for that, just for our previous production partner, Shroud, you know? And I'm sure he wants the squad to do well. They're a talented group. As right now, though, Shroud X on the offense first. And what do I see if not a triple res composition, but with Fidel on the Luna instead of the Loki? So they're not going to be... And to be fair, I think for triple res compositions, you don't see Loki come in that often anyways. So typically it's going to be like an Invisible Woman or a Luna Snow.
You know, I'm not entirely sure how much I love triple res on the attack here on this map. I mean, look, it's their map choice. Clearly, they're comfortable with it. Hulk land in the exile. Putting Doom in a little bit of danger there on left. Going to be delaying the ult charge buildup at a minimum. But yeah, I mean, this is a really slow approach to the first point, and I feel like you need multiple attempts sometimes here, Vast. So when you run triple strategist, to me, it's a little bit all or nothing. But oh man, if they get Banner here, this is huge.
And they did. I mean, Hulk. It's just Puny Banner that's available now. Citadel Gaming, they're playing really far back. Now they do have Fraud on the Namor, so they're playing this really... I mean, hey, they have the team up, obviously, for the Hulk. Getting the Gamma Squids. Is Doom going to get taken out, but it's fine. You have a Cocoon, you have a Res. As in Puny trying to make a little bit of space here onto the high ground. Getting taken away, and he wasn't able to grab the pack just yet. Also, so Shroud X, they don't have the space.
Yeah, Fraud also just defending space beautifully up here on the top, you know, aided by the Squid. Vision gonna have to self-res. Shroud X going on a long thing, and this is what I was saying here. When you go triple strategist on this particular point, the fight isn't over, and yet you look at the time. They've already lost about a minute 30. This is such a risk to run this composition on this point. I mean, we'll still see if it pans out. Ultimate ready to go right now for Monster when the need arises. Right now, going over the top, being a bit of a menace, up and over and in. Meanwhile, gonna get the ult here used by your Shroud X looking to make their move. Meteor M nearly ready for Dogman. Gonna have to be a big one, I feel like, at this point to get things going. Citadel Gaming dropping ult to turn. The Whale over finds Vision, a massive pickoff. I'm not even sure Vision has the Cocoon. I think the Cocoon was used earlier, so he's gonna have to run back the old-fashioned way. Doom is able to pick that one. 5 on 5 here so far, Vast. Shroud X tries to make this work, but Doom now has a little bit of room to work with.
And it was a long, slow fight, but right now, Shroud X in a pretty strong point presence right now with Doom having the Galactic Legend, though taken down by Fraud. Fraud still up on this high ground, getting a lot of value here with the Gamma Squids, and Puny finally gonna get that rush down. And with Nux still alive, this means that Shroud X have a pretty decent presence here on the point. The split here has been pretty effective. As Citadel Gaming still trying to contest, they are gonna have the invisible boundary if they want to commit. Exactly what they're gonna do. They're gonna stay here with this. And Shroud X, they burned through their ult here, ZP, so they're gonna have this freedom charge, but after that, it's really just a karmic revival.
Yeah, and I mean, you're not guaranteed to get good value off it, but Doom still continues to be the one on Shroud X that is making things happen. Gets a pick off on the Monster. Off in the neutral. Nearly capped is the first point, and Citadel Gaming may have to give this one up. It's nearly there. It is. And now the convoy is going to get on moving. And, okay, Shroud X, they take the gamble on the triple strategist comp. They make it work. And now they might be getting some really crucial staggers.
But a pretty decent first hold. Definitely have seen worse. I've seen some better, but I've seen worse. Citadel Gaming coming to this next fight. They're gonna have another Horn of Proteus. There's no damage boost there for Luna Snow, because obviously that has been banned out. They were not able to get that, so they're not gonna have to worry about those Horn of Proteus getting damage boosted by the Fate of the World. Is Doomed just fighting for the flank. And we've seen in the past how sometimes the Moors can set up on these high ground, so Doom trying to keep a lot of presence along with Impunity to make sure that Fraud cannot get up to the high ground.
Doom's constantly repositioning right now, really just trying to buy time while building towards Galactic Legend. Up forward now is Shroud X, seizing the opportunity up and in. Dogman, Meteor M, trying to make something happen now, looking for the opportunity, not quite gonna find it, the shield's in his way. Usher though, down the Doom, Doomed again, make it happen, no Galactic Legend required. Doomed in the neutral has been so good, but what about Doomed here with the Galactic Legend ready to go? Forced off a little bit here by Namor. Going back over to his team, not hitting the button here just yet. Still just pouring in damage as the convoy moves forward. With the invisible boundary being used here, Vast, the time has to be high.
Monster though, gonna be popping the Hulk ult, coming on in here, trying to make a lot of space. Fidel goes down, but they are gonna have the res available. They're gonna have a karmic revival used there, and now with Shroud X having all the members back up, using the freedom charge, using that damage boost, rather the movement boost, and along with the bonus health to just walk on in here. And now the pressure's on here for base to just wait and hold the Meteor M into the Galactic Legend, because there are no strategy builds available for Citadel Gaming.
And that's almost certainly going to be the interaction that comes up here. So, Meteor M, of course, popped on cue as soon as the Galactic Legend is used. Meteor M not going to get any value beyond just stopping Doom. Doom, though, get a few extra seconds of Galactic Legend into the backline. However, being kept at bay by Usher here on the Hela has been making it work pretty well, as Shroud X has just been kind of stuck in place for a while. Another visible boundary going to be used. Dongman, though! Kydex on the velocity through the boundary. Gets a key strategist pickoff here for Shroud X. Maybe the stress of the good, but Nuck going down. Nuck should be able to self-res, and does. Still 6v5 now for Shroud X. Fraud going to fall. And this should be the second point, starting to head the way of SDX.
And Citadel, I mean, they're still committing holds. Valentina going to make it back in a pop invisible boundary, but with Fidel having the fatal with Worlds, that should be it. Actually, I think this, I mean, the Hulk Smash being invested here is a little unfortunate because there's no way they're going to win this point, barring a complete beat. But wait, Nuck down, but I think with the trade velocity, surely there should be enough damage here, especially with the Galactic Legend. I think it's just a long, slow loss, which is, you know, common in these kind of stagger fights for Marvel Rivals. And really, to me, I look to Dongman, and I see that pick, finding Valentina there, chasing through the invisible boundary. That's what you need. When you're trading all of these ults, like long-term here for Shroud X, Dongman has to be getting value with the Meteor M's to ensure that the triple res comp just has enough damage long-term.
One person's getting value all day long, particularly in this comp for Shroud X, has been Doomed, where the amount of kills Doomed has been able to get without ult, definitely higher than norm, especially in a triple res comp where you're kind of more reliant on ults to get things moving. Doom though, once more. Galactic Legend gonna be used. Mace does not have Meteor M, it comes up late! However, just in time perhaps, drops it though, a little bit quick, gives a little bit more time for Doom to drop damage into the back line. Goes in here for the customary blaster barrage at the end, but dropped into the ground. Maybe about to fall, but no, said heals are gonna be there. Still looking good is Doomed. Shroud X, they drop the Liberty Rush. Fraud though, off the swap here, the Winter Soldier able to find on the Vision. Vision should have the self-res, I think. And yes, Shroud X still at a full 6. Citadel Gaming starting to get pushed back a bit, but it's a long slog.
Loved how Impunity played that, using the Captain America ult to make sure to give just the bonus health and the movement speed to his backline, just almost using it as another strategist ult. So now Citadel Gaming cleaned up here on the point. They're going to have a Karmic Revival to keep the fight going for a long time. Doomed close to another Galactic Legend too. And once again, I'm going to keep my eyes on Dongman. Dongman has the Meteor M, needs to be able to burn someone through Valentina's invisible boundary here.
All right, Dogman, Meteor, ready to go. Doomed also way outbuilding Mace here, so Galactic Legend may have way more value than expected. So unless Doomed's able to stay alive, nearly gets picked off by the Namor pressure. Shroud X up, able to heal back up. Opportunity soon to be theirs. Doomed, Galactic Legend good to go. Dogman ready to follow up after. And it may let Doomed initiate first. However, in the neutral, Mace able to get onto Nuck. Rez is going to be there, and Shroud X, they decide to commit. All right, Fate of Both Worlds gonna be used here. Doomed, Galactic Legend into the back. Gonna be forcing out Regen Domain. Meteor M gonna be dropped a little bit after. Dongman, are you gonna find anything here? You do, you get one, but Mace gets way more into the back. Got two with this Meteor M, and that's vastly more value for Citadel Gaming.
And I don't think there's gonna be another recontest. I mean, they have to swap to Strange for the portal. There's 5 seconds remaining. I just don't think it's gonna happen in time. There's no shot. I mean, that's gonna be the round.
Yeah, 1 second left. The portal definitely not gonna be in time, so not able to go all the way to Shroud X, which means if Citadel Gaming is able to bring the convoy all the way to the end, they will be facing off against 100 Thieves in the money match right after this. And what a good showing it would be for them, where it may not be the first time we've seen the core of their team. It is the first time we've seen them under their new sponsor, Citadel Gaming.
And really big ups, very big ups there to Fraud, who, you know, we called them out earlier in the series, and they've been pretty dominant with the swaps so far throughout it too. Getting that pick, just denying the Karmic Revival with a Squid. I believe that was a Squid pick as well. So Vision going down. They didn't have the Karmic Revival. They didn't have the heals, any of the value from the Adam Warlock. And I think that's kind of the downsides for the triple res comp as well. Is like, not only do you kind of lack a lot of damage and like mobility in general, but most of the damage needs to be brought up by the fact that, like, okay, when we see teams like Envy on triple res, Cal is absolutely pounding on Adam Warlock, right? Like, you're getting constant refreshes on your live stream because of that change. You're doing a ton of damage due to the critical hits that you're getting. And I just don't think that's happening around for Shroud X, especially because we know Vision is a very talented duelist player, maybe just not quite as comfortable on the Adam Warlock.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting how the comps have gone here. I definitely feel like at times Shroud X is not 100% played to their strengths. And also, I do think in the last map too, even if you use the triple strategist for first, nothing is forcing your hand to stick to it at the later parts of the map. But here we go, Citadel Gaming on the attack. If they are able to get to the end of the map, they will be facing off against 100 Thieves in the money match. The stakes have been set, but now we'll see if Shroud X can defend here and now, and Dogman immediately punishing Monster from the rip.
And I mean, that's just a classic Hall Jalia strat. Have the Doctor Strange TP, try to just break open the fight initially. Doesn't happen. So like, okay, time to swap. We did our gambit. That's the Strange gambit there. Always a classic for this map. And now they're just going to move to a little bit more standard for them, I guess. They want to have Monster playing the Captain America. Have the long range duels with Yusher, also Fraud, just empowering them all with those auras of thunder. And Shroud X on the Groot, going to be taking these fights very aggressively on the choke here, ZP, trying to deny the space for them.
Yeah, in particular, anything they do to limit what Fraud can get done on the Storm, where Fraud kind of self-isolating there in the hallway. Not the worst case scenario for Shroud X here on the defense. Citadel Gaming right now, though, just doing a little bit of build-up. Really nice pressure on the impunity here from the beginning. However, Monster getting a little bit punished in turn. So Shroud X just trying to win the poke battle here. Meanwhile, you got to be looking at Fraud. Ideally, going to be dropping Omega Hurricane as soon as it's up and ready to go. The build pretty quick right now, 98%, about ready to go. Fate of Both Worlds is going to be used, and Fraud is going to wait here, Vast. As soon as it's done dancing, it's going to be time to start spinning here with the Tornado. Kraken Impact. Dropped meanwhile by Doom, not able to get anything, and now Omega Hurricane into the back line. It's looking to be a good one, blows him away in the back. Knock out of there. Citadel Gaming should be able to get control of first point off that.
Now, Mace popping a Meteor M there very, very late when there's no one up, so kind of a loss there. I mean, there's a chance that they can touch here with the invisible boundary as well. So they would really like to have a Meteor M right about now, ZP.
Yeah, last-ditch attempt here from Shroud X. We'll see if they get anything from it. Yusher, though, in the sky. Getting dismantled. Dogman, though, Meteor M, no, not going to connect. Shroud X, though, they've done a decent job of at least making this a question here so far. Off the portal. Wasn't guaranteed to get here in such a time. Doomed, though, really, really low. Passive going to be triggered, but while it's triggered, it's still enough to take down Yusher in the back. Shroud X picking, prodding right now at this first point. Citadel Gaming actually in a bit of trouble here, especially with Mace about to fall.
And with Mace down, there's no bubbles, a lot of damage off the point here. So Shroud X can walk on forward. Doomed finding some very, very crucial picks. And also Dogman just anchoring the point there. Really well played from Impunity to get the teleport back up. As Monster, gonna need Dawn back. So sure, you're gonna have an Omega Hurricane, you're gonna have an invisible boundary here, ZB, but I mean, you look at this, and this is worrisome now for Citadel Gaming because there's gonna be plenty of ults up for Shroud X.
They're in a really tough spot. Not the least of which could be Doom just getting a quick kidnap here from the beginning. But Omega Hurricane, gonna be the way this one opens, and immediately forces out the dancing from Fidel in turn. But while they're dancing, Doomed tries to go in for a pick, gets punished by Mace. Shroud X down one. They have to turn this one around 5v6 without a Wolverine, which really means so much pressure on Impunity and Vision. Vision, though, able to get one. Deals the Storm. Here comes the Eye Bakamoto. Gets Yusher and nothing else. Fall through, not immediately there. Vision going to the sky. Goss of Death used and immediately brought back to ground. Doomed running back over to the point now. Quick swap into the Psylocke. Shroud X buying some decent time. They lost Nuck, though. They have to run back over. Doom, though, back in on the point. Here on the Psylocke. They realize the swap is here and nearly dies on entry. Impunity going down and Shroud X really struggling to maintain control.
Oh, and the portal from Fraud. Look at that. Fraud in the spawn. It goes Doctor Strange just to ensure they can't recontest. I really think, if anything, though, that point was kind of lost just because Doomed went in during that Omega Hurricane. And so they were split, right? Because Fidel going for the Fate of Both Worlds. There was an immediate pick off there. Some really good peel and I think fine from Mace. So maybe a bit of a desync there from Shroud. I mean, popping the last stand when there's really not much that could have supported them there. And now Citadel Gaming, they keep their hopes alive. Get to move on forward. They are going to have the Goddess of Death. But I mean, I would not say that's necessarily a high impact ult, especially when there's Magnetos on both squads. You've seen a lot of, there's even Groot as well to just block that. So, but it could have been a lot of value.
Mace right now walking forward. Meteor M, though, going to be the way this starts out with Dogman. To the back, nearly connects, but nearly is not enough. Meanwhile, Goss Death can be used here by Yusher. And it's pretty high value. It gets the dance out of Shroud X. And if you can get dance from hell, you're usually pretty happy with that. Meanwhile, we got Fraud on a Wolverine of his own. Slashing into the Shroud X front line. Last stand, good to go. Drops it and looks to chop down tree. Instead, gets chopped in turn. Fidel on the punish. Shroud X still looking good on the convoy.
I mean, Fraud, unfortunately, falling for a classic, just like survival game blunder. Your tools aren't high enough rarity. You don't have the high enough materials to chop down that tree. It's just not going to happen. You can't cross it yet. But now the fight's still ongoing, forcing the regeneration demand. Is Doom popping the Galactic Legend late. They're going to chase down some of these stagger limbs. So Citadel Gaming have to go all the way back. They might get brutally staggered here.
The stagger is so good for Shroud X. Only a minute is left remaining. Citadel Gaming, still a long way to go. And again, Avast, It's NA. That's the land of reverse sweeps. It happens all the time, and we could be writing our new chapter here and now. Shroud X, if they want to entertain that story, they need to hold off Citadel Gaming, and if they're able to win just one more fight, they will have taken the map. See if they can do it.
Now, I mean, there isn't like an insta-give combo, right? Because there's no Meteor up yet for Dongmin, though he is relatively close. So they could potentially, just to end it out, pop a Strangling Prison plus the Meteor just to win it, right? Because that'll burn through all the strategy results. Velocity needs to save the regeneration domain here, knowing that they potentially have to play into the Strangling Prison. It's a one-man. It's a one-man on the base.
Oh, meanwhile, Dongmin, Meteor M, up, over, not gonna get anything. Shroud X. Gonna start dumping the bank here. Still the Karmic Revival ready to go. Here comes Yusher into the back. Kraken impact. Nuck is down. Looking for the reset. So close to getting it, and yet, so far, not gonna get it here, in fact, and may get punished in turn. Karmic Rebirth may be on the menu. Mace gets two, and got the Adam Warlock on top of it. Vision, not in his position to drop the Karmic Revival. I don't think has Cocoon either here. No, it does have Cocoon. Where is the Revival? Can they get it up in time? Revival's dropped, and that's the biggest Karmic Revival we have ever seen, or at least
the problem
in a long
here,
time.
There's no ults. There's no ults, right? So it's a completely neutral fight. The Karmic Revival's out, but Citadel Gaming still in a very strong position on the point. The regeneration domain, though, getting forced pretty early.
Well, Portal's gonna be used. All teams back up to full strength. Doom super low. Doesn't get bursted down. Somehow gets out of the fire. Still alive as Doomed. Impunity, meanwhile, gets the punish. Doom, though, is gonna get chased on down. 5 on 5. Gets the self-res. That's the benefit of this composition with Adam Warlock. Doomed off the self-res. Blaster Barrage gets another 2. And Shroud X might have just held this off to extend the series.
And that, I mean, I think you called it. That might be the highest impact Karmic Revival we've seen in ages coming out from Vision. And we said, okay, maybe like not the greatest positioning, potentially Vision getting caught by Mace, but perhaps it was well played. Perhaps that was like, okay, we know we can play aggressive. We know we're going to have the Cocoon. Use that to make it back, pop the Karmic Revival. It's a risky play, though, because slightly different positioning there for Citadel Gaming. They maybe punish Vision.
Man, oh man, that was a game. And, you know, it's kind of interesting, Hex, because Karmic Revival is one of those ultimates that really is very divisive, but hard to be divided about the impact of that at the very end.
Just staving off terrible elimination was Shroud X right there. Because we expect Shroud X to be the better team here and probably get through it. So, what a match. Baffling, as it were.
Yeah, and
sometimes the way you describe it, Hex, when you're like when you drop a baffling, as it were, it sounds extremely like Neil deGrasse Tyson-esque. It sounds like you're pondering the mysteries of the universe.
Why do stars die? And why do some explode while others turn into a black hole? You know, the cosmic symphony rolls on, but you know what else is going to be rolling on here? Shroud X. Right. Not eliminated here just yet, and you know, a little bit of adaptation at the very least.
No, Connor, you said my superpower was knowing about movies and then not knowing what to do about it, and I've just been struggling with that information since. So you were absolutely right. Yeah. So
that's a brain blast.
Yeah. That was a tough one to swallow. Yeah, man, there's been such a strange match. It feels like it's been very like NA-ish in its own strange way. ZP, this Citadel Gaming squad, like, are they just a better team than Shroud X? I mean, I guess by the score.
Well, I mean, so far they've definitely had some comps that have worked out really well for them, but I mean, it's hard to say in regards to all of it. I would say neither team right now has necessarily been a fully complete team in the way that some of the other teams that we've seen play are. And, you know, for Shroud X, I think at times have been their own worst enemy here, where it's like, well, why is Shroud X having problems? Well, they've done some things that maybe weren't necessarily the most efficient. I didn't even love necessarily triple strategist at times, but you know, ult economy, I think for Shroud X actually improved quite a bit towards the end, and they were playing more fundamental Marvel Rivals and started to make it work, I think, in a reasonable way. Meanwhile, Citadel Gaming, right. I think to an extent, Shroud X has kind of seen their best looks a few times in the series, and they were dealing with things like the Storm a little bit better. So, you know, it's been on Shroud X that's been trying to adapt this entire time, as now with Shroud X finally getting one on the board, it's going to be more in the realm of Citadel Gaming to kind of figure out, okay, do we need to change anything up?
Yeah, Avast as the smartest color commentator in NA, as
that's so
the
true.
Smartest rivals commentator.
That's so true.
What would you say is like the NA meta if you had to explain it to somebody?
I mean, I think for North America, it is pretty open, but I think right now, in general, teams have still focused like brawl compositions where you're seeing a lot of Groot Magneto or even like Groot Emma Frost, Magneto Emma Frost with typically a 2-2-2 format, and you're being pretty aggressive, trying to put some flankers out there and just like walk forward and find a single pick. I would say brawl and kind of that brawl style is a bit more with a little bit of poke sprinkled in if you have a Hela is kind of where we're at. But NA's been pretty open, so I don't really say that there is a singular dominant meta in North America currently, but definitely you're going to see a Groot, you're going to see an Emma, you're seeing a Magneto, and you're going to see teams kind of like walking up at each other, blocking up, and just, you know, taking fights, aggressive fights over and over and over again. I think that's really where, if anything, North America can be summed up like that.
Well, I really appreciate that you used the word singular well. It was actually correct, the way you was singular. Thank you very much. We got to head to a break, guys. It is after map 3. It is 1-2 Shroud X versus Citadel Gaming. We'll see you in a second. Welcome back to Rivals Fight Nights. One of the sickest resurrections you will ever see. It just gets better. Is it fair? Who knows? Whatever. It's a mechanic in the game. We'll ask the smartest people we know about Rivals Fight Night in a moment. Yeah, I guess just right now. ZP have asked. You know, we've seen some old resurrection mechanics. What do you think about that one, Connor?
I mean, who doesn't love?
Ask you first, yeah.
Who doesn't love a good resurrection mechanic in a video game, right? Especially in a multiplayer shooter. I think overall, I mean, typically we don't seem to get a lot of value. That was, I mean, I think we're chiseling into the rock. I mean, into overall, like I think a monument, like that might be the highest value karmic revival we've ever seen so far at the upper echelons of our rivals.
It's pretty good until it's broken, and then we'll figure that out. You know, when we get there. Shroud X versus Citadel. This has been a amazing match. It's a little bit surprising. We were already surprised by EU being a very good head-to-head. ZP, as we go into the fourth match, what's gonna happen here? What do you think? Who's up? Who's down?
Well, I'll say this much. I said it from the very beginning, from the first map Shroud X lost. I actually think that they play better on anything other than domination. So map choice wise, I actually think Citadel probably should have brought them to Krakoa in Here and Now. Maybe they're just saving it as the final map that they have in reserve should they lose this one. But bring it to Midtown, I actually do not like this map choice at all for Citadel. Because even though I think maybe on some level they're thinking we could get value off it on the Storm, I also think Shroud X gets a lot of opportunities to right the ship on Midtown, and some of the inconsistency that plagued them on Domination won't necessarily lose them the game on this game mode. So I think if you're looking for the Shroud X reverse sweep, you're actually pretty happy with this map coming up.
Okay, Connor, tell ZP why he's wrong, and I want you guys to fight. Let's see how that one goes.
Waiting for this. I've been waiting for this moment. Ever since he fall down the stairs. The San Antonio in 2022, we've been waiting for this. No, I think overall, I think this is, he's probably on the money. Unfortunately, I can't call him wrong. I think this is
unfortunately he's right.
Yeah, he's right here. It's just you don't want to see Shroud X, I think, to take it to another domination. Midtown, obviously another pretty good pick with a convergence. So I could technically this is a convoy, to be fair, not a convergence, but I do think this is definitely a better map type for them in general. It's once again kind of keeping eyes on like how do the bans work out, because I feel like Shroud X's bans, it worked out pretty decently for them in terms of just like, okay, we want to make sure that we deny some of the potential really strong comps for like a Wolverine.
Yeah, if I was Shroud X, I'd ban Human Torch first. Yeah, so
of course
we got that one. That one's in the books.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get the Torch bans here because no one wants to deal with Torch on any side. It's just, in this ban format, if you do anything other than ban Torch first, he's going to get protected and used against you, particularly on Midtown. So yeah, no one wants to deal with that. But the differentiation coming in here, Shroud X deciding, okay, we don't want to deal with your Magneto at all, targeting Mace where they clearly think that as Mace's best hero. And in return, I think Citadel is going a little bit more meta and saying, well, we're going to take away your ability to play Emma, because you take a look at how Vanguard's been valued, especially over in EU. Teams like VP, very keen on basically always playing Emma no matter what. So it's kind of interesting here where Shroud X is playing the team, Citadel is playing the more general state of the game in their draft.
Why are teams not prioritizing the Groot bans?
I think it depends on the team.
That a lot.
Depends on the team. Some teams have felt like, especially because I felt like Groot was like kind of a late adopter in terms of how strong it was somewhat in North America comparatively like Europe, for example. But even though there was a lot of teams that were really good early on, but I think holistically everyone's kind of coalesced around the fact that like Groot is really good. We like to play around Groot. A lot of teams love to play with Groot in their comp. Some teams are like, we're fine to not play with Groot, or even like know that the other team is potentially just better than them, so let's remove it. So I think it's now kind of a map dependent thing. But okay, this is interesting for Citadel because they have banned Iron Man, which is something that they have been using a lot of. So I'm like, that's kind of interesting because they've been kind of prioritizing flyer comps comparatively to Shroud X. And I know we had the teams flipped earlier, but it seems like, yeah, I mean, there's no flyers. Yeah. They've said both teams like, we do not want to deal with flyers on the squad. I guess technically there is there. You could still have like, I don't even know. I don't think there's any flyers left at all. Actually, not really.
Let's get it on the ground.
Yeah, it's going to be more ground-based here. And again, it's a little weird to me. I completely agree with your kind of confusion there, Avast, on what is going on. Because I don't think Citadel really had any need to ban the Iron Man. Maybe there's a world where, because Storm hasn't been banned this entire time, they figured, get rid of Iron Man, clear skies. If we do get Storm, we don't have to worry about that in turn. But even then, Yusha has been playing Iron Man a lot. So it's a little weird to me that they go for that.
We'll see.
Yeah, does not make a lot of sense.
Yeah. We're going to go face-to-face on the ground at Midtown. CP, Avast, take it away.
Well, Avast, it just feels like the NA destiny right now of long matches. Not that we'd have it any other way, but yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this here right now, and off the draft, I'm not saying we're going there for sure, but you know, if you had channel points at stake, I'd be a little bit keen on Shroud X at the moment. I do think that they could force a swim at 5.
Well, I mean, with no Magneto, Doomed on the Wolverine is another very strong pick, right? And we saw Shroud X get a lot of value from this previously. We just have to close out, and that's been the consistent issue with them. It's just closing out when they have those advantages. And I think Wolverine and having that into a no Magneto comp for Citadel, pretty good advantage, pretty decent. Citadel, instead, choosing to play a very spam-heavy comp. This is poke. I mean, you have the Squirrel Girl, you have the Punisher. So this is a very, very poke-heavy composition for them. Just break the hold.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is entirely tailored to just getting out of the spawn. I don't know if they're necessarily going to stick, at least on the Squirrel Girl, as they get a little bit deeper, because the problem when you play Squirrel Girl is that you are just supercharging the other team's ability to use strategist ults. But very quick, Squirrel Stampede going to be built up. And I do wonder, is this a swap? You've gone back in the spawn, you sure? Do you want to stay here on the Squirrel Girl? And right now the answer is still yes.
Okay, you do not see the Terror Cape getting unlimb typically onto Mace. I mean, that's like very uncommon. So right now, Citadel still trying to break it out of this hold. And just like you said, the Squirrel Girl charged a ton of early strategist ults. So Shroud X still holding strong here. They have the Cloak and Dagger available still. They have the Eternal Ball for Videl. Gonna be popped now for Videl. Citadel Gaming waiting to wait it out. Probably gonna try to drop the Strangely Prison again as Yusha as another Tsunami. Again, that Squirrel Tsunami. But instead, just gonna pop the Final Judgment.
Well, look, I mean, the quick building goes both ways. Eternal Bomb was used from Shroud X, but they're now going to walk away from Final Judgment, decide, okay, we actually don't need a piece of that here, just yet. We'll let you get a little bit of room. Mace, meanwhile, Sonic Seduction, Citadel Gaming, still trying to break on out. They're able to take down Doomed. However, Dongman with the Meteor M finds Antina. Meanwhile, Vagamoto over and in, knocks out 2. Yusha going to fall as a result. Monster's still alive, but still pushed a little bit back. Shroud X maintaining their hold. Here's Dongman, just walks a little bit forward, and surely you swap off the Squirrel Girl now. And
or the Punisher. I mean, either one, because I think kind of the problem here, it's a double. Like, you want to break this very early with this comp, and if you're stuck on it, then you're kind of just feeding tons of ults to Shroud X, right? Like, you're just giving them strategy ult, and you don't have like a lot of ability to just like brawl super effectively on the point. And finally, I think Citadel making some swaps. They're gonna keep the Squirrel Girl, but they put Fraud down to the Wolverine, which I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit more happy about that, trying to burn through this triple Vanguard composition.
Monster right now in all sorts of danger. Doom says, I'll take the field trip up and over the get rid of you on the side. No. While this goes on, Nuck does get picked off, so Shroud X still down 1. We got a clobber time in here from Beauty. Shroud X just walking forward off the swap to Thing. Doomed right now, slicing up along with Fraud. Fraud able to get a little bit more. Usher finally hitting pay dirt here on the score girl, takes down Vision. A little bit of life now for Citadel Gaming, investing with the dance, with the strangling prison. Shroud X
that's a zero man.
Giving up some ground.
I'm pretty sure that was a zero man for Monster. I mean, this is disastrous. ZP, I'm gonna say it, they've won the fight, but this is disastrous. I mean, look at the time bank. There's a minute on the clock. They have they're gonna have some ults at least, but I mean, Shroud X, they're not gonna give this up for free. They're just gonna portal back in here. Vision, pop in the portal, and here comes the wall of meat. Here they come. You can hear them. They're right here.
Real nice and tanky here with the triple Vanguard setup. And now Fraud has the last stand, ready to go. They try and cut through at least a little bit of the meat in front of them. Meanwhile, the Meteor M here from Dogman looking. No, not gonna connect. Squirrel Girl able to just dodge the Meteor M at the last moment. Meanwhile, we got the invisible boundary gonna be dropped here from Citadel Gaming as they try and withstand. Vision though, up, over, drops the Avagamoto, hits two. Fall through, not gonna be there on either of the two, but Dogman was able to go to the back. Finds velocity. Doom now, working around one by one. Shroud X taking control here once again, and the time is nearly gone, Avast. It's only 18 seconds left.
Remember how Hex said this is the most NA could get? It's feeling very, like, extremely North American. I'm feeling it. Right now, I'm feeling the content of North America, the spirit of it, in the chat, in the game currently, because, yes, Citadel finally going to get some respawns, win the fight here. They'll hold on to Strangling Prison in a last stand, but I mean, it's OT. OT, and they're rounding the corner, not even a first cap, and Shroud X still going to have a last stand of their own, gonna have the Eternal Bond, gonna get a clobbering time too from Impunity. So 3 ults here on the board. A lot of pressure here on the strategist for Citadel Gaming to just get something early. They need to get a strategist ult, and ideally maybe Monster just go early here for the Strangling Prison to force them now Shroud X to accept the last stand.
I think if you're Fidel, you immediately open here Eternal Bond. You don't wait for an opportunity to be had. You get people healed up, you dive over and in. Meanwhile, Fraud here on the Wolverine looking for the pickoff. Doomed is down early before the Eternal Bond can heal, so kind of misplay here from Shroud X. Clobbering time in here from Impunity. It's a 4-man clobbering time and Fraud goes down. Clobbering time from Impunity, keeping Shroud X here in the fight. Here comes Dogman off to the skies. Meteor M looking, connects! Stops that dance cold in its tracks, rips her off the dance floor as Shroud X now with a real opportunity to hold. Meanwhile, Vision, cracking impact, 2, 3, in the air he goes, 4, 5, knocks them all down. Shroud X, they get the first point hold.
Oh no. Oh no, North America, I'm feeling it. I'm just feeling the presence of North America right now. I mean, I need to open up a mega church and just be in there, and I can feel it. Like, do you feel the holy presence of North America in the crowd right now? Because I'm feeling it right now, ZP. Because this is just disastrous. That was a disastrous point. I mean, they tried to stick with the spam for way too long. Fed ults eternally to Shroud X. Shroud X, they didn't really make any major swaps. You know, they just kept playing the comp they were playing. There was no answer, and for a lot of teams when they play that triple Vanguard, yes, you see teams use the spam, but oftentimes they just go for flanks. You know, they're trying to open up and play a couple different angles because that's where the triple Vanguard struggles into. And at no point did Citadel Gaming do that. You know, they're just like, guys, don't worry. If we keep sending more damage, they can't out heal it. Surely, right?
Yeah. Well, I do think this kind of one may go into you know, when people yell at people in their pub games, one may go into the Hall of Shame of going, never play Squirrel Girl. Well, at least in this season. You know. Next season maybe changing things up quite
But the thing is, I think it was fine for like an initial, like, oh, we're gonna surprise you option, but you just can't. And I even think they could have made it work if they had another flanker, right? Because you need to be able to turn some of the barriers. I just don't think the way they approached it for Citadel was the right way at all. And instead, Citadel said, you know what? Now it's time for us to play triple tank, and we're playing triple Vanguard here, holding close. But look at the difference already for Shroud X. You see they take this long flank angle here, just maneuvering around the early choke, looking to just get some extra pressure here on the sides.
I love that there's almost a revelation. It's like, you mean you can go through the left spawn door? And just the light goes off in your head with the angelic choir at the same time. It's like, you know, yeah, it's actually things you can do. Fraud in real danger, caught out on Emma. Of course, Fraud, who's normally been on Duelist, in Emma Frost here for the triple Vanguard hold comp. And Citadel Gaming not having the success that we had previously for Shroud X here in the same note. Shroud X doing a great job of starting to peel it on down. However, Impunity gets taken on down. Fraud running back over to the point. Citadel perhaps a little bit of stabilization right now. Doom getting super low, about to be getting picked off. The pressure onto the Wolverine is intense. Doom, though, was able to shake a little bit of the pressure, getting ready for round 2. Meanwhile, we got the clone coming in from Nuck. Dongman holding on the Meteor M, and it's all taking place indoors right now. And Meteor M, why not? Float to the ceiling, see what happens. 2 end up going down, and Shroud X doing a much better job of cycling ults to get some progress.
And on top of that too, not only have they broken this hold faster, but in return, they're on a better comp, right? They're gonna have a little bit stronger just positioning post this fight. Citadel Gaming still holding on, keeping to burn some time, but overall should be just a slow loss. Not the end of the world though, a pretty decent hold on the corner. But remember, they have to hold first entirely here at ZP, right? You can't just hold one fight, like, okay, good work. Now we have plenty of other map. No, no, no. We need a couple more contests.
Yes, we do. Now, Citadel Gaming, can they hold it back? Kraken Impact in here from Usher, and it's clobbering time. Did you not get the memo? Still gets a reset. Up, over, still a decent HP. Somehow not dead after the clobbering time. The support was there for Citadel Gaming, who have now fully reestablished their hold. I mean, Shroud X actually, again, gummed up a bit here. Doomed, nearly falling, however. Dives on in, grabs them all together. Last stand, looking to be big. Fall through, though, might not be there. Take a look at Vision here on the outskirts. Really wishes he still had the Kraken Impact. Good to go. Enough damage is done, though, to force Citadel Gaming back.
Usher, though, going down. There's a lot of damage off the field. There is going to be an Ioga mode available. As Domin trying to commit this Meteor M early, knowing there's no bubbles, can find one, and I mean, do the damage, velocity goes down. And Dogman here on the Magneto just getting a ton of value, right? Because there's no real bubbles. There's nothing to really mitigate the value here for Citadel Gaming in terms of when a Meteor M comes in, it can just burn through those support ults, those strategist ults. And so now, Shroud X holding on to the clobbering time in a last fight situation here at ZP. Citadel, they have to touch. They have a good ult bank. There is a chance, actually. I mean, they could close it out.
Yeah, I mean, they have a chance to put Shroud X away here, but this next fight has to be perfect.
They have to touch.
Invisible boundary. They start things off here. Into the prison, into the eye of Agamotto. 3 down from Shroud X, but
no way.
They did the entire bank of Ast. That is the downside here. And Shroud X still has about 50 seconds left to come back in, but it's way closer than you would have thought with how this one started.
Yeah, this is scary. This is really scary because, okay, there isn't necessarily a combo here for Shroud X unless they want to do the dedicated last stand Kraken Impact. For Citadel Gaming, they potentially want to go early, but they need to force a strategy hold here on Fidel because Fidel holds on to the Fate of the Worlds. I mean, this is just like the difference maker right now. Citadel Gaming putting Fraud here on to the Star-Lord to have a little bit of pressure here into the sky is doomed. He's flying, he's searching, he's on the edges. Not gonna find it just yet. Oh,
Wait,
good hook.
He gets hooked. The bubble, though, is also really good. The bubble. They are in the nick of time. What could have been disaster. Last stand, nearly up. Clobbering time. Used. Fidel, though, gonna dance all the pain away. Here comes Doomed. Up, over. Last stand. Is it gonna connect enough? The Kraken Impact over the top. Vision. Getting the executes. 2, 3. Can we have 4? We got 4. Looking for a little bit more. Shroud X says reverse sweep. You bet it's on the menu.
Oh, North America, you've done it again. And realistically, it was really close. That was a really close hold. Citadel Gaming did a pretty good job burning off the time. The problem there is that they're just stuck in the situation where they had to commit so many ults in that fight previously, ZP, like you called out, and they just didn't have the bank they needed, in particular the strategist ults, to survive that final fight. And now we're on going to a map 5, and it's, I mean, I'm telling you, it feels more North America than any match I've ever seen.
Well, if by North America you mean unmitigated, unrelenting, nonsensical aggression, then you were correct. That does actually track for North America. Yeah, I mean, Wolverine play there and just being super aggro. Yeah, let's go, guys. We're in 2 back-to-back 5-match tournaments, so this is Rivals Fight Night. I don't know.
Yeah, true. This is Rivals Fight Night.
Well, I know that that's the case, but like this has not really happened before. Just like teams being so close in this aspect of it, kind of sick. Shroud X. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you know what it is that we've never had the back-to-back from the end of EU to the beginning of NA, because usually VP, I mean, they like having an early night. They enjoy their sleep, but they got taken to 5. And the only thing that may stop this from being the longest day in Rivals Fight Night history is the fact that Berber Patapim just absolutely crunched QAD at the beginning of the day. But look, this one is going to 5, and the last time Shroud X and 100 Thieves played, that went to 5. So yeah, we got some good rivals going on, and it doesn't have any end in sight.
Yeah, kind of bonkers in that way. It's fantastic that we've got such a competitive regions going on. I mean, I guess I don't know if he used competitive region.
No, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say they're that. I mean, this is the first they've looked competitive in a long time.
It was finally today a competitive region. Shroud X and Citadel going to the mat here, and then also one of these guys has to play 100 Thieves. So we still have probably I don't know, like 2 hours to go yet.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. That's conservative, and it depends. You know, let's hope for no tech pauses as well. Let's hope for no tech pauses in situations like that.
Why would you do that? Why would you?
I'm sorry. Okay, my bad. You know, but it's different because since I'm in Canada right now, then like technically, like that means that I reverse the curse. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna work that way.
It doesn't work like that at all. Why would Canada have any impact on the ability to curse or uncurse? It doesn't track.
I don't have the information for you there, but what does track is that definitely it seems that Shroud X, once you're off domination, looks a lot better. And you saw it here on this map. They look, even though it still went to the wire, they have looked a lot better once they've got off domination. But they've had a little bit more breathing room, I feel, to just like kind of set up their comps.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, what's the map choice for the losing squad here?
Krakoa.
Yeah, I mean ZP he took it from my reach, but yeah, it was Krakoa. He's definitely right. It should be Krakoa.
Yeah, look, I was expecting a little bit more elaboration, but look, in the end,
no, that's it. That's it. That's all I gotta say.
You want
sometimes
domination.
The answer is just the answer. You know, sometimes it's just the answer.
You won domination twice at Citadel Gaming. Shroud X has looked sloppy and not anywhere near as good on domination. I think just because, again, their weaknesses as a team just tend to show up a little bit more brightly there. Bring it to domination. Like, you should explore the opportunity, even though I know Krakoa is not necessarily most people's favorite map.
Right, but it is their choice, and they will go to Krakoa. Is there something that, you know, perhaps Citadel can do to mitigate Shroud X's or Shroud X can mitigate the advantage of the pick here, I've asked.
I mean, realistically, I don't think they have. It's never been a question of one, they can make sure flyers don't run rampant over them. I think that's big because that's been a big issue with them on the previous domination maps. How good the flyers were for I think in general Citadel Gaming. But I also think that for Shroud X, the problem has always been just closing out the series, like looking clean in terms of like, okay, we're not going to lose a pick early. We're not going to waste these ults in this fight. So those two things are definitely the factors. More specifically, don't let Citadel Gaming get a ton of value with flyers, especially with like Fraud getting onto the storm. And then secondly, just make sure it's clean. And I mean, obviously, Human Torch, we're going to take care of one flyer always very early. We're never going to have that flyer.
Yeah, it's a tired joke at this point, but yeah, they will not have Human Torch in the picks for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, Torch is just, again, it is kind of this idea of you never want to play against Torch if you don't have a Torch yourself, and the only way to prevent that entire scenario is to ban it. So he's just not leaving the top ban spot, and I'm not really sure anything that even changes in 2.5, but we'll see. Meanwhile, Citadel Gaming saying, yep, we're going to protect Emma. What I'm curious on for Shroud X, do they ban Storm a little bit earlier? Because I think the wrinkle you do right now if you're Citadel Gaming, you go for the protect on the Storm a little bit earlier. You don't let Shroud X ban it again like they did on Midtown.
The Storm ban has been so strange to me because we've seen some teams really favor Storm and some teams just like it feels like a throw pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think that overall, like it kind of just depends on the squad. And I mean, ZP calls out, we do see a Storm ban coming through. So Storm ban being used for Shroud X. They're going to pop that. And with such an with a little bit earlier Storm ban too, it's going to force Citadel Gaming to think about like, okay, for our last protect, do we want to try to lock in like a flyer protect, or do we want to try to make sure that we can protect like something else that might be more crucial to us, you know, potentially in department. So I do like the earlier Storm pick, and instead they're going to ban the Hulk, which I don't think we've seen Shroud X play a lot of Hulk, honestly. So I think that's kind of, I mean, I guess it's maybe they're worried about a potential Namor coming out.
We've seen a ton of Hulk bans in Europe. ZP, what do you think of this Magneto protect? Is that a playmaker protect?
No, I think the Magneto Protect makes sense just with how Dogman likes to play. I think Dogman looks strongest when he's able to play the Magneto, has looked pretty good this series when on it, and I think there was a real risk of Citadel Gaming coming in and getting the ban on it. And also, I mean, with Citadel Gaming, well, I don't think they would go out on this in anything other than Midtown First. You know, Citadel Gaming at times will run things that are like way more poke spam heavy, like the Squirrel Girl, so having at least a shield available is important. But Shroud X, you know, now, can they win the domination map? That's my question, Hex.
We shall see. We are running the distance on several regions today. Shroud X, Citadel, Krakoa, CP, take us.
Well, we're being taken here, Avast, or rather, I'm the one that's doing the taking, and we're bringing us
He's
into
taking
Krakoa.
me, no!
That's right. Well, you know, but look, we saw Wolverine abduct people all last map, so it's just, you know, like monkey see, monkey do in this case. But either way, Shroud X v Citadel Gaming. Shroud X really struggling with domination all in the previous maps of the series. Citadel Gaming deciding, yeah, we like Krakoa as the final look, but it's still going to be different because they won off the back of Storm in the 2 domination maps that they did win. Not available this time around on a map that oftentimes is really good for flying gameplays. So either way, we're going to get a new look for our final map of the series, one way or another.
So Shroud X choosing to go a little bit more standard route here with like a triple res comp, plus you have the Captain America, which is, you know, seen this a lot for teams, but Citadel Gaming putting Usher onto the Iron Fist, and there is no team up there for the Luna Snow, but still, you can do a lot. I mean, at Krakoa, we've seen a lot of Iron Fist get played. I mean, 100 Thieves themselves, who's the champion, you know, challenger, I think just contender for this week, with him being gone, they've played a ton of Iron Fist with Terra. So they're going to use the Iron Fist, kind of chase down the back line, look for some of those flankers, some of the flyers even.
Vision, first pick onto the Iron Fist, off the rip. Opening pick, good for Shroud X. Fidel able to fall on through, and Citadel Gaming. This kind of reminded me of the very beginning of map 1, where they were struggling a little bit, and Shroud X was really able to just stand strong. And once more, Citadel Gaming can be off on the back foot to start a domination map.
Okay, first cap going the way of Shroud X. Should be doing a little poke here with Doomed, and you know, Doomed gonna be kind of the driver here for a lot of this value, right? Typically, you only have that one duelist player. Doomed needs to be putting a ton of pressure, forcing out a lot of these cooldowns, some of these ults early for Citadel Gaming. As Usher now on to the Iron Man. So the Iron Man's gonna make their way out. The flyer is available after being banned previously. Gonna have some of this flyer pressure as Fraud here on the flank, looking to set up onto the back line.
Fraud. End up using a lot of dash charges at the very beginning. Meanwhile, Galactic Legend in here from Doom. In over the top, just flying over the natural cover and setting up for Impunity. Impunity actually the biggest kill stills of all time as Doom just knocks down 4. But truly, the Liberty of America, the one taking the credit for it.
Doom gonna get that final pick. Still a lot of ults building up here for Citadel. About to be a 6 ult fight, maybe outside of Usher's made the swap over to the Hela. Shroud X continuing to hold this control, making sure Doom just playing these high grounds, just peppering the backline, and Impunity just working as kind of this tandem duo right now, jumping onto both the backline together, trying to force out some of those cooldowns. So now Citadel Gaming approaching, coming to the point.
All right, right now Doomed getting damaged a little bit at the beginning. Soulbond though, gotta keep him nice and healthy. Impunity being a gigantic pain right now for Citadel Gaming into the back, but here comes Citadel Gaming. They open up the Sonic Seduction, Fraud, dance a butterfly into the back, hoping that enough distraction was made. Shroud X, though, with the Solar Resurgence, able to stay alive. Meanwhile, Dongman, Meteor M, up to the sky. What's it gonna be? It's gonna be Hela taking a trip back to spawn. Dongman connecting for 1. Vision falling through here, getting the angle here on the backhand side. And, you know, Citadel Gaming, they've dropped the invisible boundary here, Avast, but it's a fight that just may be lost.
That was a really good sports fumble there from Nuck to make sure they could just wait, save up those right clicks. It's now Dongman finding 1, finding 2, the Galactic Legend to help clean up this point here, and Shroud X looking like they're going to take the first round of Krakoa. And the triple res comp looked pretty good for them there, right? I think overall, Doomed, Impunity looked like a solid duo. The backline into that aggression, making sure that no one's really going down. They're just saving all that. And Vision, I think, looking a little bit better onto the Adam Warlock as well this round.
Yeah, not bad at all. And Shroud X on the verge of being swept. Now 1 round away for completing the reverse sweep. Again, another shot at 100 Thieves. Still eager for a little bit of revenge. And man, oh man, what a story it would be And again, this is North America. The finals could easily go to 5 at the same time, which would be back to back to back 5 mappers. Either way, though, Vast, we're getting into it.
100%. Vision holding on to the Karmic Revival, like you said. And for Shroud X, I mean, they can feel pretty confident off the first round. It was clearly working for them. Citadel Gaming maybe need to hit the table, reformulate a tad. Find a new angle here. And it looks like that angle is going to be Groot. So pulling out the Groot here, which to be fair is a little bit better. Let's look at the point. So the Groot's going to be available. They're going to have also the Winter Soldier. So playing a little bit more standard brawl for them. Looking for hooks, letting Fraud try to get to the back line.
One locking 10 seconds. Shroud X using the portal early. Not for a recontest, but just for better positioning. Vision. Holding back here on the Warlock, laying in the damage. Citadel Gaming looking to get forward with the Groot walls. Both teams right now trying on neutral. Shroud X a little bit more tools in reserve here with the Karmic Rebirth and the God of Mischief. Doom into the back. Good value off the Blaster Barrage. But here we go. Kraken Impact in here from Yusher and Vision down right away. Not enough to cause a reset, though. Wasn't hit by the Kraken Impact. But Invisible Boundary going to be dropped here by Citadel Gaming. They want to secure the one pick advantage that they've already gotten. Shroud X on the back foot. Vision, do you drop the Karmic Rebirth here or do you wait for the next round? Doom dropping the Galactic Legend. It's going to be all on the table. The ult bank again fully emptied here by Shroud X. And we'll see if it pays off. Doom was able to get one off the Galactic Legend, and it is a fully rejuvenated Shroud X team now contesting the point.
Okay, Doom gonna go down still. Cocoon gonna be available, forcing that strength of the prison out of Monster as well. But Vision gonna clean up Monster. Doom still just keeping so much pressure here onto the backline. And this long fight there. No team has capped yet, but there's a stain here for Shroud XCP. It's just been so ever present. And Shroud X gonna get the first flip. And they had to invest a lot, but I'll definitely take a huge investment to get the first flip, first fight win. Citadel Gaming get to walk back in here with the Sonic Seduction, with the Dance of Butterfly. So some good options coming in for Citadel Gaming here.
All right, Shroud X, first control. Trying to head their way to get into the money match versus 100 Thieves right after this. Citadel Gaming, they came real far. They nearly swept Shroud X, but now in a bit of a bind. Sonic Seduction get open air from base and immediately punished. Impunity and the rest, the focus fire, just crunch Mace. Completely take the wind out of the sails of the Citadel Gaming attack, and Avast, so much time is being burned away now.
Yeah, they're putting so much pressure here on the approach too. Sure, Citadel Gaming gonna have a ton of ults in the bank here. This has to be a fight win. They want a very decisive fight win here. I mean, they're closer to another strengthened prison. They have so much in the bank here. The worries is, once again, is Vision can play out of the LOS, can play it safe, get a good Karmic Revival. Ideally for them, they want to bring back up and come in with a strategy result post Karmic Revival if possible.
Dancing Butterfly coming in here from Fraud. It desperately needs to do something or set up someone else. And Doom gonna go on down. Has the self-res though ready to go. It will be back up to strength at the moment. And Yusher though with 2. Karmic Revival though over and in, but is this gonna feed Yusher even more? Karmic Revival. Not much against Kraken Impact. However, Dogman off the Meteor M was able to take down Yusher. Stops the reset chain. Shroud X still able to contest here on the point. Even Citadel Gaming working with a bit of an edge.
And yeah, with the regeneration of Go Domain and Impunity down, I mean, there still is a chance for Shroud X to make the recontest happen. They are still going to have players up and available, but Citadel Gaming looking very strong here on the point. Mate's going to take down Dongman. That's a big anchor down. And I think a big issue here, when you look at the late into that fight, ZP, is that once again, Fidel Nuck committing the strategy ults before the Karmic Revival goes down. And then it's like, okay, well, we have nothing to deal with some of those later ults for Citadel Gaming, right? And you're coming into all that damage. And so sure, flip's finally going to happen, but wait, did I do it? Have I done it? I might have done it, ZP. I might have caused the curse.
Don't show your face to production tonight. It's already going to be a long day. Could be one of those 5 maps to 5 maps to 5 maps, and you just had to summon it. You thought that somehow being in Canada would stop you from summoning the level of curse that we are now experiencing, where there's been no tech pauses today. And yet,
show the match chat. Show the match chat. What are they? What's the issue?
I don't know if we can show the match chat.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Don't show the match chat.
We should at least look at the match chat before we show it. Right, so.
You know what? Take a look at the match chat separately. Okay, nothing. No information to be gleaned. No information to be gleaned there from the match chat. So, internet. A little bit of an internet problem. Okay, now, production, what I want you to type in chat next is don't care, unpause the game.
I don't know. I don't actually think we have the ability to pause the game from a production point of view. I actually think we have let the players run everything. Is how.
Well, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. But it's not us unpausing. I'm saying don't care. Like don't care. No. Unpause the game. But no, we'll wait. We'll wait for them. Obviously, can't play in the 6v5 ideally. But definitely, I think when we look at the match in general, it's pretty neck and neck. But I think when you look at the bank CP, when you see this huge bank deficit that Citadel has, it's gonna be a pretty hard slog for them to make it back.
Well, they're kind of used to it, even though they were used to it with Storm.
True. That's true.
They, if you think back to map 1, they come back from down 99 twice in a row. Is where they're at. Also, Dogman has caught up and is now attacking you in our production chat.
Yeah, I don't really, dude. I'm tired of this guy. Okay,
so we're going back to the desk here as the pause continues. Real serious internet issues, just freezing things out here for a moment.
Yeah, so I saw they mentioned it was like starry internet issues, which is my ISP. So I'm concerned a little bit about that.
I had them as well. I hope. Yeah. I mean, so I've had them. I never had any problems. So this is grave news for those in Los Angeles, which I'm assuming where they're at.
We're just accidentally slamming the one ISP in Los Angeles. That's nice. Yeah, guys, I don't know. Like, we're going 2v2, right? So I wasn't expecting you to come back in here. I was expecting to watch the end of the match. What do we got here, ZP, as far as like who's in the advantage when we do unpause the game?
Well, logically, everything from a logical point of view would say it is 100% Shroud X because they effectively only need to win like one more major fight and they will complete the reverse sweep. But if you're superstitious in your gaming and you love referencing past history, you could say that Citadel Gaming has Shroud X right where they want them because this is how they win domination against Shroud X. They go down 99 and then they bring it back. So actually, step 1 of the plan is complete.
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little bit stitious. Avast, do you agree with what ZP says?
I mean,
not like in general, but like right now.
Just in this moment right now. I think it does set up the vaunted condition that we've seen, the win condition so far. I don't know if this is going to be the particular case right now. I think overall it's kind of a question of, are the swaps still going to be pretty good? Because I do think the swaps are pretty decent, but wait a minute. We're back in. You see the pause?
Yeah, 3, 2, 1.
Perfect.
Does Shroud X bring it back? Is Shroud X going to win this one? ZP, go.
Well, right now, Shroud X, can you do what you couldn't do back on map 1, which is secure a 99 lead and win the game? The answer back on map 1 was no, but the answer on map 5, battle, worn, and tested, maybe yes.
And the answer on map 2. So technically we've had 2 of those answers that were no, but so far, yes, as the engage happens, there's going to be the freedom charge, getting that extra bonus health, getting the movement speed, but Mace just going to pop the Sonic Seduction to just mitigate some of that pressure.
Bossy, Bind doomed really, really early on in the fight. Monster dropping the Strangling Prison. Citadel Gaming burning even more of the bank here. Shroud X, though, at the same time, you know, they use the Soul Resurgence, don't really get what they want. So, all right, Citadel Gaming, one step of the way. Need about 2 more of those to force us to the ultimate round in the ultimate map.
I think that's a decent trade because you get some of those important ults. I mean, Sonic Seduction plus the Strangling Prison, more importantly. And the God of Mischief, so Shroud sold out. So, I mean, that's a pretty decent trade there for Shroud X. The only potential downside is that, okay, you don't have a pure strategist ult right now for the Dance of the Butterfly, but Fidel holds on to the God of Mischief, so you could just copy Nuck, make sure that you just mitigate that with the Soul Resurgence. So, Shroud X looking to wake their way in here. They do have some decent ults available. Citadel Gaming playing it a little bit slow.
Meteor M coming up and over. Diamond able to find velocity. Shroud X, this could be the opening they need. Citadel Gaming, they have to withstand this. Dance of Butterfly from Fraud. Able to even things back up. 5 on 5. Nuck, though, able to get the res. Putting Shroud X back in the driving seat again. Monster right now under pressure, 100 HP. Needs to stay alive and can't. Doomed. Able to finish off We are in overtime. Shroud X was able to flip the point. Citadel Gaming on the verge of being eliminated. Doom grabs another. Blast Barrage, good to go. Here comes Kraken Impact though. Can this be turned back around? Usher thinks he has a chance, and no, Vision gonna deny the resets. Shroud X nearly there. Monster gonna go for the portal back on in. Still not out of options is Citadel Gaming. They're jumping through the portal. They're going for the contest, but they're losing players bit by bit here, Vast.
I think the options are over. The options are now over. It's time to call it quits, unfortunately, for Citadel Gaming, but great for Shroud X. Finally closing out there at map 5, and really well played there, just getting some of those ults out early. I really liked how Impunity as well went to the back line when Dong was looking for the Meteorium, just immediately removing the regeneration domain, letting one come through, and Shroud X finally cleaned it up there and closing it out.
What a crazy comeback from Shroud X to go on to fight 100 Thieves. So my question too, when I was talking to Jake and Dogman when we were doing EU, I asked like, so what's the vibe? What do you feel like going into this next game? Avast, as allegedly a former pro player, we'll say.
Allegedly, yeah, allegedly.
So that'd be the question I would ask you is like, what's the feeling? Like you almost just got 3-0'd, but now you came back. So are you feeling good? Like how are you what's the energy that you're bringing into the next map against a defending good team?
I mean, I think the energy, first of all, is you're probably pounding some energy drinks, more than likely. It's the first step after a long map, ideally. But overall, feeling good because you weren't eliminated, right? You weren't eliminated, right. So you're like, okay, this is great. Now what's going to happen is stage 2. So if you go into the next series and you do really well, you're going to be like, yeah, this is really good. This is a great tournament. Then if you lose, like, oh, man, had to play 2 series back-to-back, terrible tournament. You know, can't believe we had to do it back-to-back. That's really the energy from what I've seen from many professional players. But in Fight Night, everyone's used to the format at this point. And I think for them, they're just going to feel good that they clutched it up in the end. It was a great comeback, and they're going to feel hopefully confident going to 100 Thieves.
Hopefully confident going forward. This is kind of a sick one, ZP. Like, we don't really know who's the best in NA right now, right? So it's kind of been back and forth, and, you know, it's been so... like, it's been like 5 teams who've been winning the last, like, back and forth in NA. How much do you think this means to, like, 100 Thieves?
Oh, look, I think 100 Thieves, you'd like a little bit of stability. You've kind of been given a gift here because Envy, you know, for a time wasn't able to make it, and we had the lock 100 Thieves back on in. But, I mean, look, the champion spot of NA Rivals Fight Night has been cursed. No one can sit there for more than a week without just getting kicked out, as evidenced by the fact that Envy just is not even there to defend this week. So I think that counts on the new week, new champion. Either way, no matter who ends up winning in the next match. So look, being on top of the hill here in NA is hard. Oftentimes the challenger, they get what they need from the challenging match, and look, if you're 100 Thieves, you want to be on your best game to try, and I don't think it counts as breaking the curse because they, you know, came back under special circumstances, but you'd still like to retain the throne that has now been graciously gifted to you.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of counts. I'd count it. Envy wouldn't count it, but it would somewhat count. Let's get to it though. Like, we do need to recap the last game that happened. Citadel put up a couple of really good maps. Shroud X put up 3 better maps. Just let's see who the player of the map is.
I mean, I think there's one and only Dongman. Here. I think there was a couple great candidates, but Dongman throughout the series looked incredibly good. Was getting tons of value there with the Meteoriums, and more importantly, also just on the Strange too. Even though these were some of these maps that were lost, I think Dongman's flexibility has been pretty crucial for Shroud X in general in this series, especially when they were playing like comps like the Triple Vanguard. They needed to rely on Dongman a lot to just be an anchor for them to just pump out damage. Even acted, I mean, at points, it's kind of like an anti-air Doctor Strange when they're playing the Flyers, even though they ended up losing to it. So ZP, I don't know if you have anything to add on to that, but Dongman has been kind of a staple for this squad.
I think a lot of the fights that Shroud X need the win were not going to be won without a very timely Meteor M from Dongman. Just Anytime you look to your Magneto player, you need reliability, and it wasn't just on the Meteor M's, which are going to dominate the highlight reel. Think about all the bubbles that we saw come in onto Doomed right before Doomed otherwise may have died, especially when they're playing Wolverine. The actual defensive end of playing Wolverine really did shine for Shroud X and Dogman in a lot of these maps, and man, oh man, it was a slugfest, but Shroud X, they adapted over the course of the series and end up winning it in the reverse sweep.
Well, I think you made a great point, Connor. To be the best player in a loss is still important, right? And he was still the best player when they were losing maps as well. That's what makes you the most valuable player.
I'd agree.
Shroud X, I'm like, I kind of want to like invite Citadel back next week. Like that, they played so well too. Shroud
We have a
X,
backlog. We have a backlog. We can't do it.
We do have a
soon.
There are teams spamming the social media posts, like just be like, please let us in.
Oh,
So
yeah?
I don't know.
I've seen it.
I've been seeing that. So I do think it depends for Citadel in general, but they had a good showing. I mean, honestly, this might be the first series in a while I've seen where I feel like both the Magneto players look like two of the best players in the lobby holistically, honestly.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, only one team can move on, and it is going to be Shroud X facing off against 100 Thieves. That's coming up next. We're going to take like 2 minutes off. See you then.